Good morning and welcome once again to Perkins Online. Sorry to be late, but it's a little difficult for one program to stop at 10 o'clock and the other one to begin at 10 o'clock. And there are, preparations that I have to make when I get into the studio, so it's going to take a little time. Sorry about that. Look here, I was listening this morning to the Breakfast Club, and I heard a story on it. I don't know what to say about it. It was shattering. And it was told by Father Richard Albert. And just in case there is a single person in Jamaica who was not listening to the Breakfast Club at that time and didn't hear that story told by Father Albert, I've invited Father Albert to be here with us at 10:30 to tell that story all over again. They spent a lot of time on the Breakfast Club this morning discussing the issue of capital punishment. They had the Attorney General, Senator Nicholson. They had Mr. Smith, the opposition spokesman on national security. Mr. Chuck, the opposition spokesman on justice. I just wonder whether they all heard that story. I think Mr. Nicholson may have been on the program at the time. But if any of them didn't hear it, I beg him to listen at 10:30 when we're hoping to have Father Richard Albert telling that story all over again. I don't think there's anybody in Jamaica who shouldn't hear that story and think about the implications of it. As I say, they spent a fair amount of time discussing capital punishment on the Breakfast Club this morning. And one of the things that was mentioned was the popularity of the idea of capital punishment. People are always demanding, hang them. Hang them. As if hanging is going to cure the problem that we have in Jamaica at the moment. We already have a situation in Jamaica. Well, before you can hang them, you're going to have to catch them. Am I right? Or you're going to hang the man if you can't catch him, and if you can't find evidence to tie him to the murder. Of course, there's always a possibility that you can, catch somebody. Maybe for some reason other than the issue of the murder that is being investigated. And if there is enough corruption around, then a story can always be concocted, and somebody can be convicted, and you hear that, yes, that murder was cleared up. But with all of that possibility, we have a situation in Jamaica where fewer than, I'm accused of repeating myself on this program, but repetition is an element of didactics. You can't just, if something is important, you can't just say it once and leave it. You have to keep repeating it and illustrating the different applications of it. Of the murders committed in Jamaica every year, fewer than 30% of them, I think, or just in the region of 30% of them, are cleared up. Cleared up does not mean solved. Cleared up might mean that the police shot a man last night, and they're telling you this morning that that man was wanted for 30 murders, in which event 30 murders cleared up. No evidence presented, of course, that that man was anywhere near when any one of those murders was committed. No evidence. And of course, that man is no longer around to defend himself. So 30 murders cleared up. Now, if the police, if that is the level, roughly 70% of the murders committed in Jamaica, well, possibly more than that, because some of those that are cleared up, or in some of those the cases, the person who committed that murder has not been caught and identified, even among the 30% that are supposed to be cleared up. So the problem that one of the problems that we have in Jamaica in relation to the issue of murder is that we do not have a police force that is capable of solving a high proportion of the murders that occur. People are killing people and getting away with it. And of course, one of the ways in which they get away is to let it be known that, it is said in some of these areas where crime is rife, that police informer for dead. If you talk to the police and give information to the police, you're courting murder. And that is one of the ways in which the people the gangsters ensure that they can kill people and get away with it. That's one. But I also have argued on this program over and over and over that what we ought to be looking at is what is the reason that is driving people in this direction? Why is it that the man who is a gangster and who has a gun going around shooting people with it, why was his ambition limited to that kind of activity? Why didn't he want to become a doctor, a lawyer, a scientist, an artist? Why? A great university professor. Hold on just a moment for me. Okay, thank you very much. We're back here online. Why are so many of our young people in this country opting to go the route of murder and other crimes? Why are they not opting for other possibilities? Why don't they want to be doctors or lawyers or professors or teachers, artists? Why? What is it that is putting into their minds the thought that being a murderer is preferable to any one of those things? Or is that what is happening? Are they making a choice? Or don't they have any choice? You know, last night another policeman was murdered. Shot dead. Did the young man who shot him see himself at any point as having the option of becoming a doctor or a lawyer or a teacher or a judge? Did he? And did he turn his back on all those things and decide instead to become a murderer? You know, the head of the Jamaica Defense Force he put it very well some time ago when he spoke. And you know, I'm sorry I haven't got the direct quotation. But the point that he was making was that it was no use setting out to eliminate the murderers and the criminals while you keep open the factory that is producing them. No use setting out to eliminate the murderers and criminals, other criminals, while you keep open the factory that is producing them. I don't think it could have been put better. I really don't. And when you produce these people, turn these people who have other potential that could have been beneficial to this society, when as a society we take them and destroy them, we turn around and say the remedy is to hang them. And you know, I was a little surprised to hear Mr. Chuck. He believes that the law should be carried out, that murderers should be hanged. Mr. Smith, the opposition spokesman on national security, he, Mr. Smith, seems to believe the same thing. Hang them. That is a popular view, as I said before. Large numbers of people in Jamaica believe that that is the thing to do. Hang the man that is convicted of murder. But there's a difference between leadership and taking the popular route. The fact that something is popular does not mean that that is the direction in which a leader should go. The leader should be a man who is prepared to stand up and tell his people that that is what you want. Find somebody else to do it. I'm not doing that because I think it is wrong. It's a very sad situation that we find ourselves in. We deprive our people of opportunities. We deprive those young men of the opportunity to realize their full potential. And then when we're done, we say, hang them. And what is poignantly true is that in the kind of corrupt society that we have, how can we guarantee, not only do we have corruption in the police force as elsewhere that is of relevance to this, but we haven't got an efficient police force. And how can we know? How can we be sure that, and not only that, there is the poison of politics. We cannot be sure that when witnesses come to court and say, yes, I saw that man do it, right? That is true. There could be, just happen to be persons from the opposite side of the political fence. All these things. And you can convict the wrong man. And then You hang him. And what good is done by that? What good? Are you making your society better by doing injustice, even to one individual? Or are you making it worse? And you remember that case that was decided by the Privy Council not long ago, of those 2 men in Spanish Town who were convicted of murdering a policeman in the course of a bank robbery? Fortunately for them, there was a surveillance camera, a security camera, which caught the pictures of the 4 men involved in that bank robbery. And no one of them, was among those. No one of the accused men, neither, was on that film. And it was when the case went to the Privy Council that the Privy Council demanded to see that film, and as a result removed their conviction. Right? And they got away. And had it not been for the Privy Council, and had we been carrying on hanging in Jamaica, those 2 men might well have been dead. Huh? And what good would have come to the country as a result of that? What good? The idea that persons should be executed for crimes is an ancient one. It goes back almost to the beginning of human history. But does the fact that such an idea, any idea, any practice is ancient, does that necessarily mean that we should continue with it? We take a break. And bear in mind for me, we're hoping to have Father Albert after the break. Do, I beg you, listen to this story. We have with us Father Albert. Morning, Father. Hello?
Yes, hello, good morning.
Morning, Father. How are you?
Fine, Mutty.
Good. I heard you on the Breakfast Club this morning.
Yes.
Telling a story. A shattering story. Would you like to let us hear it again?
Sure. I believe it was 1988, but I'm not exactly sure of the date.
Uh-huh.
But on 2 occasions, I went to St. Catherine District Prison for the hanging of 2 men. My task there was to accompany Father Alwyn Harry, a great Jesuit priest who was serving as chaplain to the death row inmates. And I went along with him, and it was 2 men on one day and 2 on another day. I'm not sure if they followed each other or they're a week apart, but I know there were 2 occasions when I accompanied with Father Harry 2 men to hang.
Uh-huh.
They're in an overnight cell in the area where they're going to be hung, and we minister to them for about an hour before, pray with them, and the minister to them as best we can in that circumstance.
Yes.
The young man that I was talking with on one of the days happened to be a Catholic. And so we talked, and I heard his confession. I gave him Holy Communion, and we prayed. And I remember him saying to me as clear as today, Father, I wouldn't lie minutes before I'm going to see God. But I just want to say one more time, I never killed anyone. And I knew that day we had hung an innocent man. And the sight of him hanging from that rope is one that I'll never forget. It was a moment that I felt the greatest injustice had been done. And when we look in the United States, over every week you hear of another man being released from death row because of DNA proving his innocence.
Yes.
Literally hundreds now.
Yes.
In the last few years in the United States. Hundreds and hundreds of men. In light of our, what shall I say, wounded justice system, I fear the resumption of hanging will see that other innocent men will be killed. And I'm against the death penalty, not only for that reason, but from a very Christian perspective that we never want to cut off the opportunity for a person to say, I'm sorry, forgive me, and seek redemption. But what motivates me to speak out when I heard them talking this morning is that I'll never forget the eyes, the expression on that man's face when he just said to me, I'm going to see God in a few minutes. And I wouldn't lie. Father, I never killed anyone. Now, I certainly didn't have the time or the chance to find out, from his perspective. And God bless the young man. I don't even remember his name to this day. But I just believe, Mutty, that we can't make mistakes with people's lives. We're doing it every day in Jamaica, unfortunately. I heard this morning that a very good police friend of mine, a man that I had worked with closely in Waterhouse, walked the streets with him. Corporal Dave Daly was murdered last night at 9 o'clock.
Yeah.
There's so much death in the country. There's so much anger. There's so much firepower. We've become a country that hates each other. We've become a country that seeks violence as the first answer to any difficulty. And I don't think the state should be giving the prime example of revenge or of hatred. And that's my feeling.
Father Albert, why is it that people don't ask themselves why we are hearing about murders committed in the so-called inner city areas? Mm-hmm. We don't hear them committed or by persons who live in areas like Norbrook and Jacks Hill and Barbican and so on. Why?
Well,
do people ask themselves why this is so?
I don't think so, because if they did, we would look at the squalor, we would look at the filth, we would look at the hunger. The other day I was going through a section of Spanish Town, Mutty, and I saw poverty that you would have thought only existed in maybe a Somalia or Sudan.
Uh-huh.
A skinny old grandmother sitting on a little box with a skinny young child of 3 or 4 years.
Yes.
Sights like that shouldn't be seen in a country like ours.
No.
We've put ourselves in a situation where, like Mr. Siaga said, there are 2 Jamaicas.
Yes.
And the vast majority of them are suffering. And why do we find the poor killing the poor? Because of their survival, because they've seen that the way you get things done is through brute force.
Yes.
And I don't think the state should be offering that model to our people.
And
go ahead.
You spoke a moment ago about the experience in the United States, where DNA evidence is turning up and people are being freed after years in prison, many of them.
That's right.
What is happening here is that technology has come to their rescue, right?
Yes.
Those men, and can we speculate for a moment about the number of such persons who went to the electric chair in the days when DNA evidence was not available?
That's right. You can only guess how many innocent men died. Because there's hundreds in the last few years. Every day you turn on the news in the States and there's another guy coming out.
Yes.
After 18 years, after
Yes.
20 years, after 15 years. So that, I think the challenge for us is to focus on protecting life, on saving life, on preserving life.
Well, I think one of our challenges is to recognize our fallibility as human beings.
That's right.
We cannot be, we can believe the evidence that we hear, and we can come to the conclusion that this man is guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. We cannot be absolutely certain about it.
No.
But then we are taking action which is absolute and final.
That's right.
Right?
That's right. And
On
there's
the
no coming
basis,
back from it.
on the basis of fallibility.
Yeah. No, there's no coming back from it.
Yes.
And, I think, the more developed countries, everyone, has put aside the death penalty.
Yes.
In so many progressive countries, I think we got to take a step in the right direction.
Uh-huh.
And to choose life.
Yes.
And that's why we battle against poverty, and we seek to alleviate hunger and pain, because life is sacred. All life is sacred. Rich life, poor
Father,
life, black life, white life.
is there any reason for thinking that some men are born to be murderers?
No.
No. So how
always
did
like
they
to say,
become?
Mutty,
How did they become murderers?
God never made them.
In particular, the kind of murderers that we have in this country, who are, it isn't that somebody made them angry and they did something, that injudicious. These are people who make a career on the basis of the information we have, who make a career of murder. Did they sit down and choose between the possibility of being a doctor, a lawyer, a priest, a teacher, whatever, and being a murderer, and decide on the murderer?
No, God never made a murderer. God never made a rapist. God never made a thief. It's social conditions.
Yes.
That, as you said earlier, why aren't more murderers coming from Cherry Gardens? Because
Absolutely.
they have access to education. They have access to health.
Yes.
They have access to the goods of this earth.
And access to, opportunity.
That's right.
Right?
But the vast majority of the people in the inner city have little or no access to the goods of the earth,
Right.
to an opportunity for education,
Right.
decent health care, and choices are made. And they haven't been socialized. They haven't had the opportunity to be socialized, to know how to get along, how to resolve conflicts. They haven't had access to that where others have. And so we've denied them. And we wonder why then we have so many angry people. We wonder why we have so many people who are ready to resort to violence.
Yes.
And it's only by social intervention in the inner cities, not brute force, only social intervention police coming with a whole new attitude and approach.
Yes.
I've suggested over and over that there should be policemen and women trained at the academy, not only in police techniques, but also as social workers, so that when they go into these inner cities, they know how to help people from a human standpoint, and not just to go in with, an angry face.
You remember what that military officer, the head of our Jamaica Defense Force, you remember what he said?
No, I don't.
That it was no use going after the criminals and murderers, trying to eliminate them, while we keep open the factory that is producing them.
That's right.
Yes.
That's right.
Father, thank you very much. I know you had to leave a meeting to come and talk to us, but thank you very, very much.
All the best.
All the best to you too. Okay, thank you very much. We're back here online. Hello? Hello?
Yes, Mr. Perkins.
Good morning to you, sir.
Good morning to you, to my brother. How are you doing today?
Not too bad, thank you.
Yes, I have 3 quick points I'd like to bring out to your attention regarding Port Morris, Mutty.
Yes.
One, we have some areas, namely Monza, Daytona, and other surrounding areas, 3 North, 1 North, 2 North, which seem to be having a severe water problem.
Yes.
Water lockoffs every day.
Uh-huh.
Now, I've repeatedly made the point, Mr. Perkins, that you cannot have a city growing as large as Portmore and the National Water Commission don't come in and put in specific plans to deal with the operations rather than building more houses, more schemes, and still the same water supply.
Yes.
So that is just a ridiculous position. I've spoken it about numerous times.
It's not just ridiculous, it is irresponsible.
Right? You cannot have an organization like the National Water Commission keep on doing this. They are rubber stamping schemes.
The question, of course, is whether the fault is that of the National Water Commission, whether the Water Commission has the resources that it would need to do what you are thinking of.
Yeah, but Mr. Perkins, listen now. Any normal thinking businessman who goes out to do business understands that you want market share, and for you to get market share, there are certain things that you have to do. You have to, invest in that business. You invest in the business, you get more customers, and the market share increases,
Yes.
So that is just a natural course of business. And when I look at the NWC, if you see the NWC men come out to disconnect a pipe, you see 5 men coming out to disconnect one pipe.
Yes, but hold on a little bit. The National Water Commission didn't make the decision to build those houses and expand the Portmore.
No, it doesn't.
No.
But guess what happened? There's also a responsibility from the NWC to say that whether the water is going to be available for the ensuing schemes.
Now the matter. Yeah.
Right? And that is where I have a difficulty, because if they're saying that the water is not there, then it's obvious to me that then
the houses should not have been built.
Right, the houses should not have been built.
Yeah.
And so that is, my fundamental point, and I'm saying they're rubber stamping these schemes, and there's not enough water to go around, and residents are suffering. Right? The other point I'd like to bring to your attention is, Mr. Perkins, there is a road that runs alongside where the 100-man station is. Now, for a long time, the residents of that area have been suffering from a particular problem: streetlights. Now, I understand that there were some 200 streetlights given out in a while in Portmore, and the allocation going out there to each councillor or something in the order of about 5 or 8 streetlights per councillor. Obviously, that is not an adequate situation, because that particular area is an area that is dark, and even though the police station is close by, but the police would have to be out there knowing that something is happening to respond to it immediately. But if the area is lighted up, and it is high time that we get into gear, and I'm just asking the JPS to really see if we can put some lights in that area to secure the residents of those communities.
Yes.
Because really and truly, we need to get out of this thing where we're going reactive. We need to just be proactive to a lot of situations, and cause, in other words, we need to start to build the social aspect of our citizenry so that the crime rate will decrease. Because we have a social problem, we have an economical problem, and we have an educational problem.
Yes.
And once we can begin to fix those difficulties, then maybe we won't need
Have we begun to fix them?
No, well, what we need in Mutty, and I'll be honest with you, I am not going to even butter it up. I think the government has run out of ideas, they are redundant, and we need to make room for a new government to take over this country with new ideas, new thought processes, and the way we can move forward. There's simple business ideas that we need to implement in this country so that economic growth can go forward. If you don't grow this country, if you are sitting down all the time thinking about paying out bank dividends to a few rich persons, and while the nation suffers and languishes in poverty, then you must have crime. You must have crime.
That is inescapable, sir.
Right? So if we don't begin to grow the economy, we have the best Scotch bonnet pepper here. We have the best ginger here. We have almond here growing in abundance. We have all sorts of things, Mutty, that can begin to grow. And as a matter of fact, when we look at the situation, and somebody made mention to me the other day that, what we call marijuana doesn't have to be smoked, It can be used for medicinal purposes and for all sorts of things that can be done to bring the country out of this state of poverty that we're in. Right?
Yes.
I'm not interested in marijuana for drugs purposes, but if it can solve glaucoma problems, why not use it? Why do we have to sit down and be languishing in poverty as a nation when we don't have to be poor?
You know what, sir? We have not the government has not put in place policies that since the 1960s, well, there was some correction, some improvement in the 1980s when we had the garment industry and so on recovering. But we have not set about to create an environment that is attractive to investment. Right? That's part of the problem.
Look here, Mr. Perkins, let me tell you something. From a small business perspective,
yes,
most small businesses, they have great ideas. What they lack
Hello?
is the financial...
Oh, sorry about that. Something.
Small business.
Oh, yes, sorry.
To a medium-sized business, to a large business.
Uh-huh.
What you have now is a situation where our banks are throwing down horrendous charges on their customers.
Uh-huh.
We don't have anybody looking to see how does this man, when he goes out to compete in the world,
uh-huh,
some of his customers, of course, are going to be corporate customers.
Uh-huh.
That man who has no financial backing,
uh-huh,
goes into the corporate world seeking business because he has this great idea. He goes in there and somebody takes him his service and puts him in a position where 60 days has been passed, 90 days have been passed, and there is no move afoot to send that gentleman a check so he can put back into his business the amount of funds that he has taken out to subsidize these large corporations, right? Here comes the light bill. Here comes the water bill. Here comes the taxman. Here comes all of these things. Here comes the salaries. And he's left there now languishing, trying to collect a check to run to the bank to try to sort out these things, of course.
But you mentioned the electricity, for example, right?
Yes.
It seems to me that the arrangement that the government has with the public service company is one that allows that company to profit from inefficiency, right? Because all it has to do is tot up the cost of producing the electricity and add a percentage to that as its profit, and it is cool. So the more inefficient the company is, and the Canadians made some reference to the failure to put in place the technology to protect the system, right? Because they know that they're going to make it back out of us. Now, which country in the world, having such an electricity system, can be competitive.
It can't be.
Eh?
It cannot be.
How can it be?
Right? There's so many other entities that fall into that category as well, Mr. Perkins, that we are just left to the mercy of these people. And they're making demands on you, and your bill has to be paid on a timely basis, or they will cut off the power.
Yes.
The persons that owe these small businesses out there, right, will hold you to ransom for months at a time before paying you. And you will end up in a tax court saying that you owe the government taxes and you do not wish to pay the taxes, when in fact some of the things that is happening to the small business community out there, which I might add is the one that is holding up the economy, because these are the people that probably are producing small items, giving service, doing all the things that is holding the economy together.
And then we hear all these great economists talking about the macro economy.
No, but they don't have a clue. They don't have a clue. You have a gentleman there, he doesn't have a clue as to what they're talking about.
Oh, which gentleman is that?
Right, a good friend of yours, I won't call his name.
Oh, I see, all right.
Right? But, they don't have a clue. They're paper economists. They sit down and they draw down things off the internet and everything. And if you put them in a business to run it on a day-to-day, when they get up in the morning and they look in the bank account and they see $20,000 and they hear that the front end of the vehicle that they need to do this servicing has just been torn off because of a pothole in the road, and you need $35,000 to go and fix it.
Yes.
And when you call your bank as a man who is going into that bank day in, day out, and the bank says to you, listen, we don't have the authority to approve that extra $15,000, so you need to go and find it from elsewhere. When the same bank is stiffing you with charges left, right, center.
Hold on just a moment for me.
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much. We're back here online. Hello?
Yes, Mr. Perkins. I have some advice for the
but before you go on to that, you talked about the car and the damage to the car.
Yes.
All this is adding to or diminishing productivity.
But of course.
Right?
But of course.
All of this has to be borne by business.
Right?
And if you create that kind of environment, which business is going to be rushing to come in here to...
Let me paint a little scenario for you, Mr. Perkins.
Huh?
Let me paint a little scenario for you.
Yes.
You go out and you say that you are selling potatoes. And you go to a hotel and you purchase these potatoes, right? With your overdraft facility that you have had to secure at the bank and so on, and you present it to a particular hotel, which collects their money abroad up front, right? They then ask you to present your potatoes to them for a credit period if you want to do business with them.
Yes.
Now, you deliver your potatoes, of course, expecting your money to return to you within a certain day, because, overdraft facilities, when they are not honored within a particular period of time, they attract interest rate, and very high interest rate at that too. And you're left stuck now, saying, yes, you're doing business with this big hotel chain, and you're delivering hundreds of thousands of pounds of potato to them on a monthly basis. And what you find is that these people will owe you for 6 months. In the process, right, they are owing you. They are growing interest on their funds that they have collected up front.
Yes.
Which a lot of these people who classify themselves as big businesses have their money offshore. Has nothing to do with the economy of this country. Save and except that they get kudos every time they walk around here that they are Mr. So-and-so. Right? And you who are actually holding up the economy are left to fend for yourself with a high interest rate of a 90-day, 120-day, which when you do collect the check, which is of the said amount that was prescribed for a 15-day credit, 120 days later, you would have realized that you would have found yourself in a way backward position, never to come up.
Well, don't forget what might be happening to the dollar at the same time.
Right. Never to come up to those Joneses that are walking around and presenting themselves as high and mighty in the country.
Yes,
and I think it is, I hear you talk to Mr. Ennis. I don't agree with that man on many things, but I agree with some of the things he said on your program. And it's just the honest to God truth. They don't want him to be sitting in the same table with them, so they have found a way, in a very educated way, to keep you poor. Right?
Yes.
And a lot of the small businesses that are in this country, they need the assistance of the finance minister. Some of them,
you know, so there are people in this country, you see, who, Mr. Siaga had an article in the papers the other day talking about the sins of slavery.
Yes.
One of the greatest of those sins is to have conditioned our minds in this country to the idea that some people should live in nice, large, comfortable houses and others should live in shacks. Right? And, and the people in the nice, comfortable, great houses, they have rights. The people down below have none.
Well,
right?
And
the idea that we need to set out as one of the primary concerns of our society to create an economy that is going to make it possible for that man down there to get first of all an education and then a job and then produce wealth and earn something and be able to improve his living conditions and so on. That is not of any concern to us, you know.
No.
The only thing that we are concerned about is getting his vote.
Yes.
Right? When the time comes.
Exactly.
Right? And any concessions that are made to the so-called poor in this country, right, are made on that ground that you have to do a little something to make him want to vote for you. Right?
Look,
but that's as far as it goes.
Mr. Perkins, what happens to us now, we need to understand, if every man not eating a proper food, the one that is in the shack is going to roll out of those shacks,
yes,
and he's going to come looking for you, who he assumes has the food that he's not eating. And if we can't see that perception and begin to grow the economy around that perception, in other words, not everybody has the money to put into a Olent, but at least most of them have the ability to do some form of labor.
Yes.
You understand?
But the government is creating, they're vexed with Olin, because Olin is taking away money that Omar would like to have had to support his budget. Right?
No, but I can tell the minister we.
But they themselves have cultivated an attitude. Well, the people who own capital in this country have been encouraged not to put their capital into productive operations that would provide opportunities for people and create wealth in the country. What they have been encouraged to do over all these years that Omar Davis has been Minister of Finance is to put their capital into government paper.
No production.
No production.
Absolutely none.
And an economy cannot thrive in that way.
And better yet, Mr. Perkins, we are now faced with a great portion of our medium-sized businesses, small businesses, micro businesses, owing the government millions and millions of dollars in back taxes, with a great deal of it being penalties and interest, right, which they're being dragged before the courts for. I am simply making a suggestion to the minister. I believe every business should pay their taxes. But I also believe that economic conditions is also conducive to you might not being unable to do so. And I'm saying, one of the things that he could do to back up his budget this very minute is calling those people that are finding it difficult to pay this enormous amount with the threat of the penalties and things hanging over their head. Remove those penalties and interest and make an arrangement for them to pay the actual taxes. And he might find that he won't have to borrow so much money to fit his budget. Because, listen, people are out there wanting to pay, but if you owe $300,000 But when you look at the overall picture, it says $4.5 million because the 3.2 or the 4.2 is interest and taxes. You're going to stay away from the system.
Yes.
You understand what I'm saying?
But the system is exploitive, sir.
Right?
That is what
so
that
we
is
need
the
to
thing
begin
about.
to think
right?
Outside of the box and correct
yes.
the problems and the ills of the country.
People are to work in this country, to
right?
pay taxes to the government. And the government has no obligation to those who pay the taxes.
Right?
No obligation to provide decent roads, decent hospitals, decent schools, and etc. Decent security.
You know, I went down to St. Mary a couple of days ago, and believe you me to God, when I was finished with there, I almost needed a new front end.
Yes.
These people are repairing that road, and if it is 100 kilometers of road, Mr. Perkins, why do you dig up one whole 100 kilometers of road one time when you cannot fix it back?
And spend a year with it in a mess.
Right?
Or more than that.
Why do you do that? Right?
Well,
why are you squabbling over a bridge falling down as to who is the person responsible? At least the mayor of Port Maria can say that I have a letter that I was making representation.
Yes.
What can the other show me?
But the other question is, does the parish council, the St. Mary Parish Council, have the resources to fix that
and
bridge?
There is a new thrust going on within the government side that keep making this argument that the parish councils are inept and they are not doing anything.
Yes.
But who holds the purse string?
The government holds the purse string.
Ridiculous argument.
And it gives the parish council what it wants to give.
Right?
Them.
If you give the KCC, the Portmore Municipality, the St. Mary Parish Council, the Montego Bay, all of these parish councils can perform, and they, in the true sense, have outperformed any local government authority in the last 18 years with limited resources.
Yes.
Right? And so we need to stop this foolishness of trying to put a political spin on things. Right? And do the proper thing.
Quite true, sir.
Right? We need to do the proper thing.
And they are admitting that the St. Mary Parish Council does not have the engineering staff to deal with the problems of that bridge.
Yeah, but look here.
Then how can they be responsible for it?
No, but look here, I'm totally amazed because from my understanding, that place is a serious garrison for the People's National Party. It's a shame that the people down there that way.
Anyway, I have to run. Thank you very much. All the best to you. Okay, thank you very much. We're back online. Hello? Hello?
Good morning, Mr. Perkins.
Morning to you, Mom.
Oh, I heard your address this morning, what your opening remark. And that was in my mind before I heard you with that. About the condition of Jamaica and the people, how they're illiterate and the government keep them. And Mr. Perkins, I don't support hanging, you know. I don't know why. Because even when Saddam Hussein was to be hanged, it really come home to me, regardless of what he used to do. I never support it. I don't support to take the life like that. I think they should have another system to deal with criminals. And the first thing with Jamaica, we create them, you know, Mr. Perkins. We create them.
Yes.
Because this country was built on just certain people to survive or get rich into this country. I see from I was a little girl when in my 40s. I'm not a young person now, you know. So I follow this country. You understand? And then I went back to England and I noticed how the Englishman run his country as well. He used to train people in school and see that they're learning, Mr. Perkins. And you speak to people around and they're intelligent. If they don't even get to high school, but they can communicate and they're disciplined and they can socialize and all that, Mr. Perkins. We didn't do it in this country here. It's only a section of Jamaicans get that privilege. I saw it. When I was growing, my parents did try with me to go to Sunday school, and I went to good schools, and there was around me too. But at least, Mr. Perkins, if the parents didn't even have that intelligence to help children, and the government and the system should know that and should be doing something to it. I believe so, Mr. Perkins. You don't leave it on all the parents, because you know some of the parents don't understand about how to train the children. But the government taking over countries, people you're taking over, don't it?
Yes.
If you're taking over people, you're going to deal with people.
Yes.
And if you're dealing with people, it's not just a little section of the people. It's the 100%, not even 90% of people you're supposed to deal with. You're supposed to deal with 100%, because if you deal with 90%, the other 10% going to be angry and they're going to antagonize like what they're doing now.
Yes.
You understand?
Yes.
And I mean, not going to help what you're going to do with people.
Yes.
I don't think so. And I wouldn't want to do it if I was leading people and I was the government and everything.
Well, you heard that story that Father Albert...
Yes, I listened to it because I was hanging on before 11 and even the 2 callers. I was listening to the other 2 callers. And that's all right with everything, because when you came out first, it's the same thing I was talking in my mind. I heard the police get killed, and I six of them, and all those men got executed playing domino and everything. And I said to myself, this country is because it's ungovernment. That was ruling this country and taking over this country. Because, Mr. Perkins, when I went to England, and was there for 15 years, I see a lot of things. And I used to deal with Barbadians. And even my friend from Barbados, she didn't have any high school training also. But she was really intelligent,
Yes.
Yes. She was an ordinary person, but she was intelligent. She could mix, she could think, she communicated. This country, I found out since I come back. I work into a financial institution that I know I deal with a lot of people. And when they come in, you can see how they're so illiterate. And I thought the country was moving on. You understand? But when I realized, I said, people come work with me, young people, they can't read. How you can have a country that people not even reading, that they can go out there and excel themselves? Because, Mr. Perkins, if you give a person a good elementary training, and when I say elementary, I mean a good one. You understand?
Yes.
I know when I was going to Calabar Elementary School, I went there and I went to technical. And I never get anywhere else more, but I could use that. You understand? Because I was rounded up. And I don't know what happened to this country and the government. And they do have money to do this, and they do have money to do... And yet still, if they want money, they find the millions to do other things. Mr. Perkins...
Including to travel and all that.
Yes. Mr. Perkins, I live into a little community, and you don't even see the councillor. When he got... saw him come to the Citizens Association when he got in first 6 years ago. And we don't see him again. And we have to be fighting with our road, put stones in the pothole, put the right to the authorities. We don't get much from them, Mr. Perkins. And I'm wondering, these people that come to represent, what they come to is not people welfare. They come, you can have roads that you can walk on. You can't come out in the night for a pothole day or night, and pothole, you have to be looking through pothole. And you have to be put, I have one at my gate. And sometimes the president of the citizens now, they have to put money to cover up a pothole, Mr. President. Else you wouldn't even come out at the gate. So I don't know what they're doing with the money, because they say we're poor. We're not poor, Mr. Perkins. The money not used efficiently to build the country and build human resources and all that. That is what they must focus on. Not to go build, to go hang people and to go get and whatever, and to go lash them and all them things. Because if we was doing the right thing, wouldn't find some, I don't say we wouldn't have a little of that, There's nowhere is perfect.
Yes.
But it wouldn't be so widespread because the people is too illiterate and they just cannot think. Mr. Perkins, they cannot think for themselves and cannot develop their own self because they wasn't motivated. They was only motivated to get a bag of flour and a tin of oil and get little bun and little things and and you vote for them. And it just finished there. You see, Mr. Perkins?
Yes, you're right.
So I tell you, it's a sad time, and if we don't capture education in with Mr. Perkins, when I was going to school at the same Calabar elementary school in Kingston, I used to see the boys them from Michael, the students from Michael used to come out certain times, spend 2 weeks in the school, and go around and see that we're learning.
Yes.
But what happened to that money? They don't use those things now to develop Jamaica again. They use it to go buy big football and all that and all those things, and build big this and big that, and they find so much money to put on all sorts of things, million. But They can't even put a little million and people inside road, Mr. Perkins.
Yes.
Why? And they come for people?
You know, part of the reason is, you know, Mom, that they have no respect for the people, you know.
It's only certain people they respect in this country, Mr. Perkins.
They don't respect. That is why a young police constable can see a 50-year-old man walking past and say, "Come here, boy."
Yes, right? No, that is wrong.
Right?
You must respect people regardless of what they are and where they and so. So you see, if we bring a country to this,
yes.
So if we bring it to that, we're going to pay more and more every day, you know.
Absolutely.
It's not going to be better.
Absolutely.
Regardless of what you're going to do otherwise. If you don't deal with the root there, so, and deal with the little man down there, so make them know that they are somebody and they are respected. Right. We're not going to move on better than this, you know, Mr. Perkins.
Absolutely. And it must begin with a respect for people.
Yes, respect. Right? Not care all the person. Even if somebody does a little wrong, you know, you must still respect them and they will understand, you know.
Yes.
Yes.
All right. Thank you very much.
Listening to me, Mr. Perkins, and have a good day.
You're welcome, Mom. Good. Okay, hello?
Hello?
Yes, good.
Hola.
Good morning to you.
Morning, Honorable Perkins.
Oh, well, I don't know about the honorable part of it.
Me yesterday get a award at Portland.
Me?
Mm-hmm.
At Portland? What kind of
award? Country, just in Portland.
No.
Good morning, Mutty.
How you do?
Well, there.
I haven't heard from you for a little while.
I remember last time I talk.
Yes.
We're coming to Kingston.
I was wondering whether you had migrated.
No, I'm not left Jamaica, no.
You're not left Jamaica?
No. You know, them guys mold me all the time say, Colin, you're 60 now, how you not buying a car? Me say, well, me buy land now, because land can't meet an accident. So, me can't put the land in front of me head now and left here. You understand me?
That is the thing. That is the thing. When you buy land. Right?
Can't meet an accident. Can't meet an accident.
No, but you can't pack it in your suitcase and run.
No. And if you grow up in a plenty bush, you only use one tractor and clear up and prime land again. Yes, I want to talk about the environment, and I want to talk
about what?
The environment in Jamaica.
Yes.
At St. Anne's, we're right on at the hospital. Go straight down, right to the Negril.
Yes.
Where the highway them put in these road. What they do is they fix up the drainage system, all the dry gully them. But I can't believe we don't reach a state where we have a catchment here. Because if don't kill you wall that thing or block you and go down, and control the water that's in the tear the bank. Everything's still gone outside in the ocean and I go hurt the reef. And a catchment here out with the logical thing. Then build one at the top part near before the exam at depot at St. Anne's years ago. But once you have it can't work for the river now because it all costs billions of dollars to build for control the river mouth them.
Yes.
But the dry gully, anytime you have a flood in the country, the whole thing tear down and gone and damage the whole ocean. And them still building putting this highway, still building this drain and no catchment here. I look on it, it's very crazy, man. How we can reach to this stage where we just can't think, Mr. Perkins?
Well, you know, sir, I'm sure we can think if we put our minds to it, but our values are part of the problem. We don't really think that, you know, it isn't the country that matter, it isn't the people that matter. It is how much we can put in our own pockets.
Yes, you have a point.
You know?
You have a point and you're right.
Yes.
We're not doing like...
And we don't recognize, you know, sir, that we could put even more in our pockets if other people were having a chance to. Right? If you're in government and you want to do a little thieving, right? The greater the product of the economy, the more you can thief and get away with.
We have to do a run down the thing because you say the guy in a trench town, if you make life better for him, he will eat more
and buy pretty a mattress.
Absolutely.
And everybody will live good.
Everybody will live good.
But gentleman a while ago was talking when people have vigilance, Mr. Perkins, it's a very sad situation, I know, because if you take care of the country, as you said a while ago, well, the people overall will take care of you. If you take care of yourself, after a while you become a target. Everybody will watch you.
Absolutely. Hold on a moment for me. Okay, thank you very much. We're back here online. Hello?
Yeah, Mr. Perkins. If we control the gully them, we able to control the reef.
Yes.
Because everything is coming from this dry gully and coming in the ocean.
We'll also be able to control the quality of the water on our beaches.
Yes, Mr. Perkins. It's a totally problem you're going to solve, probably not 100%, but I could say even solve even 40% and then the other year 2%. The whole thing, you know, Mr. Perkins, the country is reversing massive, you know.
Yes.
Massive. Everything. Health, education, the security of the country. This morning I hear your father talking and it's totally right. We cannot take the road to hang nobody. Because we're going to end up hanging innocent people.
Yes.
As you said, Mr. Perkins, everybody know, and if you talk to the man on the street, I know, he will tell you, know. Everybody is convinced the level of corruption is the worst they ever see. But one of the things what I would like to see, the private sector, include myself, throughout the whole country, get a pollster, whichever pollster they want, and they want to get the tree in the country, the tree pollster, and carry out a poll in Jamaica and find out after the general election what the people would like see to happen first. If they want education first, health first, security, job, or abandon the garrison. Because these are 5 years we have some serious problem. Because it's foolish to see the people go to the pool and then them want water. But the politicians, they might want to give them road. Make the people them decide what they want first. Because what is taking place here with this economy?
The politician, they might just give them a little something. Forget them vote, you know. Right?
Yes.
It isn't that we are convinced. It isn't that there's a general acceptance of the fact that the Jamaican citizen, whether he be rich or poor, is in this country, right? This is his country, and he has to be respected in Jamaica.
Exactly.
And if the government is going to be taking taxes from him, then the government must be providing services in return for those taxes. Nothing of the sort is happening, right?
You're right, one. You're right.
There is no respect for people, right? No respect for people.
Well, Mr. Perkins,
they're treated like dirt, and the worst thing is that they accept it.
But this can't continue because what eventually going to happen? Most of the politicians, them sooner or later, who win from who don't win, and if this continue, half of them not going to live here, no. Because they're not going to live.
That is quite true.
Because they more realize the situation of the country when alright, Meko says even before we independent, 1969, the 3rd of September, when we changed our dollars, where our dollar higher in United States dollar, we'll call it 35 years ago or 38 years ago, when our economy was the best in the Caribbean. And look where we reached to now. We reached to the situation of Haiti.
Yeah.
I mean,
yes.
If anybody I think I know, and we don't do something, we're going to end up in a serious trouble in this country now.
But we are already in serious trouble, sir.
Mr. Perkins, the people is in a mood in this country that nobody know if them are going to wait, how long them will wait. Condition is getting real bad. I'm going to tell you the worst thing what happening in the country now. A man would have preferred going in bed tonight with half of the food in his belly and know say wake up tomorrow morning. The fear of the gun
Yeah.
Mr. Perkins, how Jamaica reached to this stage when nobody can drink later road at night? You can't play a domino, and you're in a yard, and you feel a look. As I see a man coming, you get very suspicious.
Yes, yes.
How we reach to that stage, Mr. Perkins?
Boy, me don't know, my son. Me don't know. But I remember the days so when you could have walked, the amount of walking I do all over Kingston. Right? All down Spanish Town Road and them places. At night time.
Well, the last school
I
me
never
go to
felt
Vauxhall School.
in any danger.
Yes. The last school me go to Vauxhall School on Winard Road. And remember, that time, never talk about crime at Jamaica. Never talk about crime. But we are sitting on a time bomb in this country with the crime. The amount of gun, look, baby, me no feel say no district in Jamaica when I have gun. You know who me serve out of everybody? The policeman. The policeman become the target, you know.
Yes.
You know, the policeman come like, you know, that thief not like watchman. Nothing, in a sense, I mean, the average Jamaican. But, with the police now, him don't know who to trust.
Yes.
The one at police last night now. Him stop there. Probably to create just peace between people. And he lose his life.
Yes. Yes, quite true.
Anyhow, Mutty, make we do what is right and talk our mind. And who want listen. And when the bam come, I still maintain, you know. So me see the people behave outside, you know. Me kind of realize that something will happen. Something will happen. And all of us, both the Prime Minister and Mr. Golden, going to have to start address the people probably on a monthly basis because the people is getting unrest. They might go through the crime and mash up a lot of them. And then we might tell something. When a gunman go in a year, no man, and kill like a day along a Lindsay, and kill 6 people, no. That a whole district now is like the fear upon them, no man. People can't live in the condition of Mr. Perkins.
Yes, quite true. But not only that, sir. How can there be hope of economic development in a country where, one, the infrastructure is in the way that it is, right? I was just talking to a man who was telling me about, you know, the cost of doing business in Jamaica. You have a car, the business to run the business, and every 5 minutes the front end mash up.
But between
that's not going to cost you money.
Mr. Perkins.
Eh? Hold on. Your electricity bill. 1 minute the public service company just get it into your head, it send you one hell of a bill. And if you don't pay it, them lock off your light.
You'll have no choice.
Right? How can that work? And how can you produce competitively with the rest of the world if you're going to have to be paying those kind of exorbitant bills and other costs? It can't work.
Mr. Perkins, him still a go through one good time. They go tell you something. Do you remember one man in Jamaica named Mr. Finsack?
Name what?
Mr. Finsack.
Finsack?
Well, I want to give a history about that.
I believe him still around.
He's still around. No, me send that to Jamaica again. A lot of us as businessmen borrow money all over. We borrow for massive expansion. Was 22%. And 9 months later, got 64.
Yes, I know.
Me borrow 5 million Mutty.
Yes.
Pay 1.5. Let balance 3.5. And in 6 years, 53 me hold. 53 million me hold.
Hold on, start again.
Me borrow $5 million from Park Young.
Yes.
Pay 1.5. Well, we say 1.5 million.
Yes.
Left 3.5 million. And at the end of 6 years, after Paul go bankruptcy or what the case may be, me end up owing 53 million.
53 million.
Yes, man.
From borrowing
5 million.
5 million.
But me go tell you somebody else again. Mr. Diamond to go wear about 18 million, pay 41. And me and Leon there that town about 11 years ago or 10 years ago. And there I said me pay 41. He said, how much you will? You ask him out. He said, me who 126 still.
Yeah, he told me that story himself.
Alright. And the oldest restaurant in Waterers, Parkway, Brenton Barrow 1.8 million. Pay 12 and still in who 18. And eventually losing property.
Yes.
And all the guys them who start business in the 50s and 60s, there's not one black man who own a hotel in Waterers. Everybody wipe out. Whoop! All people work for 40, 50 years. Wipe out. Why, I tell you, I have to say, boy, every day, God give me a second chance. Can me end up have to buy back my property?
Well...
So, the man I talk about the little car and the engine. When a man losing property, is the wickedest thing can happen. When a man losing house. And in family, them have to some there east, some there west. So, nobody now have to tell me about the economy of this country and what bad management do to this economy. Because plenty of them mad, some runway and some dead. Some couldn't take it. Me have friends were passed off. We know the shock.
But Omar Davis is, of course, the greatest finance minister we have ever had.
Well, in talk, what they say, that will never happen again with such thing. But him going there young and
in what?
Him going at this thing young.
Oh yes.
I mean, and then.
His youthful exuberance that caused all that.
Mapping up.
Liquidity.
Eventually they start to that high interest rate or come. But let me tell you something. Not him alone. The 60 member of parliament. I said, you don't have 12 of them who run business in this country. Now let them know what tell our factory.
Yes, indeed.
You talk to Johnny Sir and Butch Stewart and Chris Blackwell and Mia Matalan and Lassell Chin and Michael Chin. Talk to all of them business guys. And the way them guys...
Hold on just a moment for me. Okay, thank you very much. Back here. Hello?
My good friend, half of the MP them, a parliament, 30 of them, put together and mortgage all in their house. And my good friend, build a hotel like all, Sanders White House. You believe what take place with that overrun? Could that take place with these MP? Most of them all lose all of them property in their house when they mortgage.
No, I think they would take steps to prevent that happening.
Yes. What taking place? Pan overrun pan highway, overrun pan Sanders, overrun pan this, over. The health situation, if we wouldn't have to reach to the state, how can you have a police station when I have a police car? Your school, no have blackboard.
Yes.
And one of the worst things, Mr. Perkins, when me personal, I will make nice man. You see this garrison politics in this country. It is a breeding ground for slackness and nastiness, you know. Because these politicians who run this garrison era is benefiting from that. That's why they're not doing anything about it. And people must draw to book. Me see Tony Blair what the police call him and say, listen, tell me how this go. And me hear Katie Knight attack said nobody can call PG a parliament for ask him question. What kind of, what, is like your head sick? Something wrong with him?
Well.
What if I drive past Bellevue regular?
Yes.
There's no man bigger in this country.
Well, that...
And what he's doing is embarrassing.
That should be the case, but I don't know whether it is. That should be the position, but I doubt very much if it is.
This guy look like him, Maggot King. He Maggot, my 90-year-old. Okay, you tell it out of your mouth.
Anyway, we'll have to go.
Okay, sir.
All the best to you. Good. Okay, hello? Hello?
Hello?
Yes, good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Perkins. I would like to tell you a thing that's happened to me, sir. It's the first time on your program, sir. It's the first time on your program.
Well, welcome.
Yes, sir.
Uh-huh.
And I don't know what Jamaica gone to right now, sir, because I wasn't here for a couple of years. And I came
Speak
back
up a little for me.
I wasn't here for a couple of years.
Yes.
And I came back last July the 22nd.
Uh-huh.
And my fiancé, he sent a package for me from the USA. And I went, he sent it by FedEx. I think it's FedEx.
Uh-huh.
He paid them $215 to send out the package because they should deliver it to me in Jacksontown. I'm living in Jacksontown.
Yes.
But yesterday morning, a member of the company, a man, called me and told me I should go to Montego Bay for this package.
Yes.
Because they won't give it to him. So I must go there and or send a fax to him and that they would give him the package to deliver to me. But I said, okay, I'm living in Jacksontown, it's nearby, so I will just come in Montego Bay. For myself, when I went there, Mr. Perkins, the box is a 11 by 11, I see it on it. And they charge me 9,000 Jamaican dollars, Mr. Perkins. It's just one pair of sneakers, one pair of Flanders slippers, a skirt suit for my daughter, and a pack of little socks for my son and one shirt.
Who charged you that?
The custom, Mr. Perkinson, 9,000 Jamaican dollars, Mr. Perkinson. I went on very, very bad yesterday because I was saying like $1,000 for the little box. I mean, Mr. Perkinson, it's just one pair of sneakers, one pair of sandals, a pack of socks. A tin cutter what my fiancé sent from because we couldn't get one here when we were looking in Brownstown, St. Anne's. And he sent it back in this little box for me, Mr. Perkinson, and some makeup powder that because I have acne problems, I just asked him to buy that over in the States for me. And Mr. Perkinson, when I went for the box, Mr. Perkinson, 9,000 Jamaican dollars, Mr. Perkinson.
Oh, God.
I wondering what's happening. You know, Mr. Perkins, I went away, and because of my kids, why I come back here to Jamaica, because I don't know what's going on in Jamaica.
Why you came back?
Because of my kids, because they were here, and I love them.
Yes.
That's why I come back to Jamaica. Mr. Perkins, 9,000 Jamaican dollars, Mr. Perkins, is a good thing. I travel with in my handbag was like 4,000 Jamaican dollars because I said, okay, my fiancé paid already. They're supposed to deliver it to me.
Well, he paid for the transportation of it.
Yes, he paid $200.
What you're paying now is customs duty.
My God, Mr.
You're paying Dr. Davis now.
Oh my God. Mr. Perkins, listen to me. I call him. And he said to me, but I said, listen, I want the things and what was in the box, so might as well I just take it because Mr. Perkins, 9,000, you know, man, $9,000 could buy me a couple. It's just the same way, Mr. Perkins. It happened to me July the 22nd. I was coming here to Jamaica and I traveled with 3 pieces of luggage. I get paid for it, but I'm just telling you what happened, sir. When I reached Kingston, there was only 2 pieces of luggage. And Mr. Perkinson, I went to Kingston. I full up when I miss it, I make a alarm. So the guy give me a paper and said I will receive it the following day. The following day I didn't say anything, which is on a Sunday. The Monday I didn't say anything. I call. He tell me fax over St. Martin to see if they see my luggage there. Nothing was there. And in January, I call. They said I must come to town. I went to Kingston. I do all of that and call them with my cell phone and all of that, Mr. Perkins. And in January, they called me to tell me I have to have the receipt to show that I had those things in my suitcase. And I didn't have a receipt, so I put a lawyer in it. Anyway, Mr. Perkins. And the lawyer pay me, not the lawyer, they call me and pay me a little bit of money saying that they don't responsible for, because at least I have a DVD was in the suitcase, so they call me, they tell me they don't responsible for that and all of that. Anyway, they pay me $400, Mr. Perkins. It not even cover half what I did have in my suitcase, but I take it, Mr. Perkins, because I don't know what's going on in Jamaica, Mr. Perkins.
Boy,
I don't know. I tell you, I'm sorry I come back here.
I wish I knew, Mom.
I tell you, boy, even the FedEx people should collect the box and deliver it in Jacksontown because I live in Jacksontown.
Yes.
But he tell me he went down there yesterday morning and he didn't tell me why. He just say he went down there and they won't give it to him.
Yes.
But I didn't know why, Mr. Perkins. Is when I went down there for myself yesterday. I don't have a car because I'm not a rich person, I'm a poor person, Mr. Perkins.
Yes.
And I take the bus and it carry me down and it let me off right before FedEx and they give me the paper and I went down there. I walk in the sun in Montego Bay. And when I reach Mr. Perkins, I get on so bad because when they tell me it's 9,000 Jamaican dollars to pay for that small box, that could have buy me maybe 3-4 pair of sneakers in Jamaica and more and buy me maybe little food because everything is sky high here. I mean...
Yes, well, the government is in difficulty, Mom.
Boy, I don't want
need the money.
Yes, sir.
You know, to pay the debt that Dr. Davis has created.
Because...
So I must get it from somewhere. So
because
my
fiancé told me yesterday, he said, maybe they're making a mistake. I already paid.
No, he didn't pay the tax on it. He would have paid to carry it here, to get it here, you know.
Yeah, okay. I tell him, Mr. Perkins,
anyway, Mom, that's how your country is.
I tell him, Mr. Perkins, I'm sorry I come back here. If it wasn't because of my kids, then I wouldn't come back to Jamaica. I tell you that one, sir. I'm sorry I come here.
Yes.
But anyway, in time I leave again, I don't know if I coming back here. I'm telling you that, sir. Because it's I don't know what this country gone to. I don't know.
Yes, I'm afraid things are in a mess.
And Mr. Perkins...
Things fall apart, the center cannot hold.
Oh my God. Mr. Perkins, everybody was looking at me like I crazy in the custom because I was getting on. What am I going to pay $9,000 for?
Yes, well.
You know?
Anyway. Bear it we must, I suppose, until we can do something about it.
Wow.
All right?
Anyway, Mr. Perkins.
Sorry to hear about it.
Yes, sir.
Thank you very much for calling.
Mr. Perkins.
Yes?
Could I would like to contact somebody. I know your program is not for that. I'd like to contact Gwen and Pearl. Living in Montego Bay. They used to living in Blood Lane, Glendevon. I don't know if they're still living there now, but I wasn't here and I come back and I don't see any of them. Even my mother, Miss Lurleen Curtis, otherwise called Miss Campbell, she was living in Kingston. I don't see her a couple of years now. I don't see her, so I would like to contact them.
All right.
Okay. Would you like my number, sir?
Well, call it out now.
Okay, sir. My cell number is 39-121-75.
39-121-75.
That's my cell number, and my house number is 610.
What?
My house number is 610. 4690.
Okay. Your number would be in the book.
Okay, sir.
What's your name?
I'm Miss White, sir.
Miss White?
Yes, I'm living in Jacksontown.
Okay, all right.
Okay, thank you very much.
All the best to you. Okay, hello?
Good morning.
Good morning to you, sir.
I wonder if we have any time to talk.
Would you speak up a bit for me, not hearing you well?
I'm wondering if we have any time to talk.
Very little.
I want to touch on 3 subjects involving from before 11:30. Matter of guns in our society. I want to talk about the guns in our society, the Broadgate Bridge, and there's some kerfuffle over some man blocking road with his children somewhere in West Kingston yesterday. Which
well, we haven't got a lot of time now. You know, the news is about to come on.
Well,
but you could call us back after the news?
Getting through to you is a difficult thing.
Difficult?
Yeah. So, could your producer put me back on hold?
Okay,
hold till after.
All right, speak to him.
Okay.
Okay, we'll leave you now for the news. We'll be back here in about 20 minutes.
Imperial.
Okay, thank you very much. We're back here online. And we go now directly to our telephones. Hello?
Yes, Mr. Perkins.
Yes, sir.
How are you? Yes.
You were the person who called earlier on?
Yes. Can start with the Broadgate.
Would you speak up a bit for me?
But I'll start with the Broadgate Bridge.
Yes.
No, about 40 years ago, in the year 1967, when I was working in the Public Works Department, I was given the assignment of inspecting that bridge as a part of the department's regular maintenance work.
In 1967?
Yeah.
When was that bridge built?
At the time I inspected it, it was a good 30 or more years old.
Yes.
So that would mean that it would have been built from the
back in the 30s.
Yeah.
Yes, because I remember I heard of somebody saying something about when it was built, and I used to live down there, and I remember that bridge. We were living there in the 60s, in the late 60s, early 70s, and I remember that bridge being there. But at the same time, people used to come around. You know Thousand Pen?
No.
Oh well, this is just after you pass the Grandy Hole Bridge, going towards an Otter Bay. A lot of people used to come down that way and cross the river there, and walk across to so I don't know. Anyway,
yeah.
You were saying?
But I just mentioned that I found then that the bridge was in good condition, but sorely in need of some good painting, some proper painting.
Yes.
So I'm quite astonished to be hearing Mr. Stephen Shaw of the Works Agency now saying that they have no responsibility for the bridge.
Yes, I don't follow that, because he's I believe I heard him admitting, or some other person from his office admitting, that the parish council was not equipped to deal with a bridge like that. They haven't got the engineering, the engineers on their staff, right? And the other thing is, I believe that they haven't got the money.
We in this country seem to expect all kinds of magic.
And I heard Mr. Montague saying that he had written to the ministry pointing out the deteriorating condition of the bridge. And I didn't hear a response that the ministry had said it wasn't its business.
I think what I heard was that Mr. Montague is saying that they did not respond to him.
They didn't respond to him? Yes. But that sounds irresponsible to me.
But it seems to me that they put it off their list but didn't put it on to anybody's.
Yes.
expected to take care of itself.
There's I think a serious problem with the parish council system in this country, The parish councils, particularly now that they're dominated in terms of numbers by the opposition party. They are being held responsible for things. But on the other hand, the government holds the purse strings. And they have the money, only such money as the government is prepared to let them have. Right?
But I think this one is more basic than that. I think it's a matter. It's similar to the case of the roads in subdivisions after a developer has done them. And sometimes he has not done certain things which he was supposed to do.
Yes.
And so the various authorities say that they aren't taking over the roads.
Yes.
And 50 years later...
Hold on just a moment for me. Okay, thank you very much. We're back online. Hello?
Yes, as I was saying.
Yes.
As in the case of subdivisions where the authorities say that they have not taken over the roads
yes.
or water supplies or something hasn't been done, but meantime they're collecting the land taxes and water
yes.
etc.
No,
we have to get it through our heads that somebody has to be responsible for everything.
Yes, I should think so.
Stop this notion which I observe in our country where the first use of authority is to repudiate responsibility.
Yes.
We have to get rid of that. And this is, I think, is a fundamental problem with which we're faced. That too often people are trying to push off responsibility rather than to
yes.
face up to the fact that things don't do themselves. Somebody has to do it.
Yes. Speak up for me.
Yeah. No. To go on to the next item.
Yes.
Here
but hold on. Don't you think whoever the responsibilities was, that it is one hell of a scandal that governmental authority allowed a bridge to deteriorate to the extent where it dumped people into the river who were walking on it?
Yeah, it is. But we have to deal with the
isn't it amazing that nobody died?
Well, it's very fortunate.
My God.
But
it is scandalous.
The fundamental thing of our philosophy of governmental responsibility in our country. That is the basic thing we have to deal with.
Yes. And I bet you that if Tapanari's people were crossing that bridge, it would not have been allowed to deteriorate like that. Well, I don't know.
I wouldn't swear to that. I wouldn't swear to that.
Yes, I was thinking of one that collapsed with a bus driving over it. You know? It might as easily have been whatever the Grand Van Vitara or
one
whatever.
by Appleton Estate.
Anyway, you're going on to something else.
Yeah. There's a lot of talk about getting rid of the extent of gunplay in our society.
Yes.
I would like to suggest that we'll achieve this only when our society devises another standard by which our ordinary boys will prefer to use to determine their fulfillment as men. That is to say, their passage from being boys to being men. And I have no ready suggestion as to what this may be. And the only suggestion I could make is that we could look at other societies, other cultures, who do not go around killing each other in this way, and examine what are the criteria by which their youth get this satisfaction of feeling that they have matured to the status of being men. I think this is the real key to the thing, and until we find this...
Your voice is tending to wander away, sir.
Yes, I think this is the key to the problem.
Yes.
And until we solve that,
yes,
I don't think we're going to make very much headway.
You know, sir, in the Declaration of Independence of the United States occur these words: we hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, and that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, among them the right to life, to liberty, and to the pursuit of happiness. And that it is to secure these rights that governments are instituted among men. Now, we have set about in this country going back to the 1950s, we have set about governing ourselves without attempting to define, either on the part of the people doing the governing or the people being governed, what we mean by government and what objectives we expect government to fulfill. Right?
True.
And that is our basic problem. Government, according to Jefferson, has a duty to safeguard the lives of people, right? The liberties of people, and to provide them with pathways to happiness.
But
right? Now those people down in those inner city areas that are acquiring guns and doing all kinds of terrible things, have they been provided with meaningful pathways to happiness? Do you hear the youngsters who live in places like Norbrook and Cherry Gardens and so on? Are they walking around with guns, shooting people?
No.
No. And if the answer to that, as I think it is no, what is the difference between them? Why is it that these upper class youngsters do not see any need to acquire guns and this kind of thing?
No.
Right?
It may be that those have other ways of showing that they can bust and push people around.
What?
That may be the reason.
I'm not hearing you, sir.
It may be that these upper class people have other ways of showing that they can bust people and push people around.
Well, I don't know that. Is it that they're gaining particular satisfaction from boxing people and pushing people around?
No, not boss, B-O-S-S.
Bossing, okay. Right?
No.
But they are able to achieve their ends by going to school and studying, going to university, graduating, right?
No.
And if they can't get jobs here, then they go abroad.
The common feature that I observe in the Jamaican culture is that of a display of power. It is even ingrained in the form of our constitution, where the prime minister is a dictator for a time, and when he
that is a part of the problem. That is a part of our problem too.
Pardon?
That's a part. I agree with you that is a part of our problem, right? But I think that if people had pathways, saw themselves as having opportunities, then a lot of this kind of thing would not be going on.
Yeah. So what I'm saying is that we need to devise and agree on these pathways to other forms of fulfillment.
Absolutely, yes.
That is the essence of it.
Absolutely. All right?
One other point.
Quickly.
Yesterday, I think it started the day before, kerfuffle over the case of there was a young fellow shot somewhere by the police.
Yes.
And his mother was out in the road screaming, etc. And the father went into a school and took out two of the siblings of this person who was trying to use them to block the road. Now, I heard a discussion of this on another station, which involved a pastor from this Hear the Children Cry organization. Now, they were all wringing their hands over this atrocious thing the father had done in taking the two small children out into the road. The pastor recognized that the reason why he did it was because of his frustration and anger at being unable to get justice by any other means.
Yes.
But what I found amazing is that nobody recognized that these two smaller children were that the person who was killed was a brother of these two smaller children. And that it is never too young to learn to stand up for your own brother.
Thank you very much.
Nobody seemed to recognize this.
Okay. All the best to you. Thank you. Okay, hello?
Hi, Mutty.
Mr. Chuck, good afternoon to you, sir.
Good afternoon, yes. Your producer told me you wanted to discuss something.
Well, yes, I heard you talking about...
this morning.
about hanging.
Yes.
And being in favor of it.
No, I didn't say I was in favor of hanging, you know. I said I was in favor of enforcement of the existing law.
Yes.
And if the matter comes up for a revision of the laws, my position clearly would be different. But I'm saying that once the law remains in the statute book, we must enforce it.
I see.
Yes.
Even if there's a danger in doing so.
No. I have always acknowledged that, the process of capital punishment has many, many dangers.
Yes.
And that is why I am not in favor of it. But if that is the present position, then the government must take the necessary steps to enforce the law. Mutty, even I've always said, I don't agree with many of the speed limits. I don't agree with 30 miles an hour on some roads. But once it is there, I have a duty to obey the law. And if I get the opportunity, I will try to change it. So that is all. My position is that you don't keep laws and just refuse to enforce them. Your better position is to try to at least to get them changed. Right?
Yes, but the question is now, Mr. Chuck, speaking as you do for the opposition, if the opposition could come to office, came to office after an election, what would be its position? Would it be saying, well, the law is there, so let us enforce the law? Or would it be saying the law must be changed?
But Mutty, there's absolutely no doubt in my mind that, we need to bring that matter to Parliament again, to have a conscience vote once again. Now, if the conscience vote is that we must retain hanging, then whichever government is in place will have to abide by the law. So I can't really say to you that, the present law is wrong, and therefore I must dismiss it.
Yes.
This would be irresponsible of me. No, but I'm not denying that, the capital punishment has been shown repeatedly to be fallible. Yes. And that innocent persons in the past and probably over a long period of time...
Did you hear that story that Father Albert told?
I heard it. I've heard many similar stories.
Yes.
There's a fellow, I think his name was Noel Absalom. No, there are many stories. Perhaps some of them are anecdotal of, persons who have been executed. And I have told you...
Hold on just a moment for me. Okay, thank you very much. You were saying, Mr. Chuck. Hello?
Yes, Marty.
You were saying?
No. We before the break, the position was whether or not a JLP government would seek to enforce the law or to change it.
Yes.
And I said, obviously, my option would be to seek to change it.
Yes. But, Mr. Chuck, do you seriously believe that a government would have an obligation to enforce a law, even if it believed that law to be wrong in principle?
Well, Mutty, this is a very difficult question. There are many laws that government of necessity must enforce because it is their duty, even though they may not agree with it. That has...
And even if they think that the enforcement of such a law, of whichever law, would be deleterious to the interests of the people?
Well, Mutty, here you have a situation, and we'll deal with death penalty. If 90% of the people, and I have no doubt that 90% of the people believe that a death penalty should be enforced, suppose you take it to Parliament, and the Parliament, by a majority, says yes, that is the law of the land. And let us say it is a JLP government in power. can we simply ignore it because
no, but
of
hold
personal
on.
position?
If a JLP government is in power, then the majority that said that is the law is a JLP majority.
It may well be. No, not necessarily.
How?
Not necessarily. It may be that the other side comes across and vote with half of the JLP government in power to say fine, they want it enforced. Because of necessity, a matter like this, which is a moral and philosophical issue, ought to be a conscience vote. Fine? And if it is a conscience vote and not a party position, then there's always a possibility that the majority may consist of both sides.
But I would argue, Mr. Chuck, that the role of a leader is not to just acquiesce in whatever the majority says. Right? The role of a leader, if the majority insists upon what the leader thinks to be wrong, then the moral position of the leader must be to say to them, well, look here, I'm very sorry, find somebody else to do it.
No, that may well be a position in a month. That may well be a position.
Yes.
It may well be, say, Delroy, Chuck, if the majority insists that capital punishment must be implemented, I may say, if I'm appointed as Minister of Justice and I am the one who must ensure that it is done, that I ask to be relieved of my duties. It may well be that position. I have no problem with that. But the point I'm making is
then why don't you say
that
you are against capital punishment?
But I've said it repeatedly.
And if the country insists upon capital punishment, you're very sorry, you're going to have to resign if you're appointed to that office.
My position is, I've always been, that in matters like this, if the law exists, we must either enforce it or change it. There's absolutely no doubt in my mind that I've stated publicly and in Parliament that any opportunity I get, I will try to change the law. I've said it repeatedly. But suppose, Mutty, you have a conscience vote in Parliament, or, for that matter, you ask for a referendum, and the position is against my personal position, then I have a duty to make a decision. Okay, I have no problem with that.
But also, Mr. Chuck, there is a business of, I mean, the people are out there screaming for capital punishment, thinking that capital punishment is going to solve the problem of murder.
Well, you know, Mutty,
right? Which is nonsense.
You know, Mutty, I have written on this issue for the last 20 odd years, explaining why I think the death penalty is wrong. Believe me, I've written maybe about 50 or 60 articles against the death penalty. You understand? So there's no doubt in my mind that I know that the death penalty is not the way forward. And the question is, how do we convince legislators and the people in our country that this is not the way forward?
Well, by telling them what is the difficulty with it.
No, but Mutty, you think it is for want of trying? You think it is for want of trying?
Well, obviously people are not having the leader. If people hold to wrong views,
I don't agree
then
with
it must follow that they're not having the kind of leadership that they need.
No, with due respect, Mutty, that's not necessarily the case. In America, you would think that it is lack of leadership why they still have the capital punishment?
Well, I think there are some states in which they don't. Am I not right?
No. Virtually, well, I think all the states know. Maybe
I think there are one or two in which they don't.
Right, but let us face it. Even when Pierre Trudeau, and he gave one of the best speeches against capital punishment to persuade the Canadian Parliament to abolish capital punishment. The majority of Canadians still believed that you should have it, even when the legislature voted against it.
Yes, but that doesn't mean, sir, that doesn't mean that the legislators
were wrong. I didn't say so.
Well, I don't know. The majority of legislators voted against it.
No, voted, against capital punishment. Against capital punishment. But I'm saying that the vast majority of the people, 70-odd% at the time, disagreed with the legislators. In England, no. If you ask whether capital punishment should be abolished, believe me, you would still get 70% of them say it should be returned.
Where? So in Canada or here?
Anywhere, in any country.
Well,
you still have 70% because, Mutty, it is a religious, emotional issue. And I'm very glad to see the Roman Catholic Church. And by the way, until the Pope decreed that capital punishment is wrong, most Roman Catholics would say you should have it. But the Pope having said that the Roman Catholic Church must be against the death penalty, you find that most Roman Catholics now are against the death penalty. That, I will agree with you, is a certain amount of leadership.
That is leadership.
Which was sent by the Pope.
Yes.
And I wish, Mutty, that more of our religious leaders would do that sort of assessment and send a message. Because, take it from me, Mutty, it is the people in in some churches who argue vociferously that death penalty was meant to be God's choice. It is His decision. You know that. And they will quote scriptures from the Old Testament to show you that man has a duty to execute, the killers and a wide variety of sinners. Right? So,
but the thing is this, Mr. Chuck, that people are not being, in Jamaica now, are not being offered an alternative.
Well,
right? The murders are occurring. Things seem to be out of control, and people are saying, "Man, do something."
Yes.
Hang the people.
Well, you see, Mutty, this is why I say it is not the death penalty, like abortion and several other issues. They are not matters that people approach rationally. They tend to be emotional, moral issues.
I think that there's a certain amount of emotionalism and yes, the moral issues, but I think that people are looking for solutions. That is what is primarily driving this. They see no solution to the problem of murder in the country.
Well, there's no doubt, Mutty, that when, for instance, it was a French guy who said he will remove capital punishment when murderers stop killing, right? Which is the argument that many persons use. You want to abolish killing? Tell the murderers. You want to abolish capital punishment? Tell the killers to stop killing. That is a sort of emotional juxtaposition that people use, which doesn't make sense.
People are stupid even wherever, but what people need to understand, sir, is that to begin with, if you're going to hang people for murder, you first of all have to catch them.
Quite.
Right? Now, when you look at the crime statistics in this country, somewhere in the vicinity of 30% of murders are cleared up. And cleared up does not mean solved. Right? It might mean, as I say, that the police shot a man last night. And they now say that man was responsible for 30 murders.
Right.
And 30 murders cleared up.
Well, there's no doubt, Mutty, that in fact, on all of these human judgments, there are inherent dangers. And that is the problem. Even with cleared up rate, you find that police will, because a man has been killed and he was accused of having committed several murders, the judgment is that those murders have been cleared up.
Yes.
Right? Which to my mind is not a good basis to say the murders have been cleared up, because there's no evidence.
Absolutely.
There's no conclusive evidence to say that was the man responsible.
So the likelihood is, sir, that more than 70% of the murders that are committed in this country every year, people are getting away with scot-free.
Easily
right?
More than 70%.
And therefore, how will hanging affect that?
No, but Mutty, you're asking a rhetorical question. I've asked that question repeatedly. In fact, I have argued before, Mutty, that capital punishment, is a way to ensure that people don't get executed, don't get convicted, because sometimes jurors are reluctant to convict lest the man be hanged, and they're not sure.
Yes.
So I've put, believe me, over the years, over the last 2 or so decades, I've argued against capital punishment. Now, what I don't like, though, Mutty, is the government not using these arguments, but using such arguments of judicial decisions to say that is what is stopping the law being enforced. So that they will say that it is the opposition or the Privy Council or the human rights activists why they are unable to enforce the law.
Yes.
And that, to my mind, is a bit of dishonesty.
Well,
it's better to say that we don't agree with it, and this is why we have not enforced it.
But I don't think the government has said that I don't hear. I heard Mr. Nicholson this morning saying that he
doesn't agree with capital punishment. And I know that, when you look at the vote in the House in 1978, Mr. Patterson and the former Governor General were not in favor of capital punishment. And that is why from as far back as the early 90s, I said there won't be any further execution in Jamaica for a long time.
Yes.
But Mutty, I heard you just before this call, but just before I came on discussing the collapse of the bridge in St. Mary. One of the things, that I don't know if you have said it on your program, but the persons who were injured should really sue the government,
Yes.
Whether it be a class action or individual action. Somebody was negligent.
Yes.
Some government agency was negligent.
Yes. Hold on just a moment for me, please, sir. Okay, thank you very much. We're back with you, sir.
Yeah, Mutty. I was just shifting to the whole question there of the collapse of the bridge.
Away from the issue of capital punishment.
To be frank with you, Mutty, there's not much more I can say on it. My personal position is well known. There's not much more I can say on it.
Yes.
I will try as long as I live to convince people.
But the question I would ask, Mr. Chuck, is what leadership is the opposition offering on this whole question of crime, right? The high crime rate is not going to be solved by hanging persons, particularly in a corrupt environment in which people can be framed. Look at those two men out at, I'm not saying that they were framed, but important evidence that was known to the police was ignored, and the two men were convicted. And it wasn't until they went to the Privy Council that evidence was unearthed, right? And there was a consequence acquitted. Now, what if there had not been a Privy Council, A, and B, if hanging was capital punishment was enforced?
Well, to be fair, Mutty, those were not cases of capital punishment. To the best
I think one of them, was convicted of capital crime.
Let me say, Mutty, that there are persons in the political arena on both sides who are passionate about capital punishment being the right punishment.
Yes.
Okay? And let me tell you, if you listen to former national security ministers, from Dudley Thompson, most of them, they've always been very passionate about capital punishment. If you listen to some ministers of religion and to the police, members of the police force, they will tell you in no uncertain terms that capital punishment is the just desert for killers.
But if we are going to argue against that, then we must come up with an alternative.
No, there's no doubt, Mutty, that over the years, I remember sitting down on the committee to consider look at alternatives to capital punishment in the latter part of the 70s, early 80s. The question is that you need the sort of social and economic intervention to keep young men in particular from criminal activity.
Yes.
Now, there's no doubt, Mutty, that most of the victims and the offenders are between the ages of 15 to 26.
Yes.
And these are young men.
Yes.
In other words, if you go to the prisons, if you go to the courts, if you go to the jail houses, the vast 80 to 90% of the people you see in these institutions are between that age group, 15 to 31.
Yes.
And the question arises, something is happening to these young offenders while they're engaging in this sort of activity.
And we need to look into that,
and there's
Mr.
no
Chuck.
doubt, Mutty, that one of the problems that has caused the spike in crimes over the last 10 or so years is the failure of our country to provide meaningful occupation and opportunities for these people.
Absolutely.
So that the alternative...
So maybe we're hanging the wrong people.
So the alternative, Mutty, is that you have to find the sort of entrepreneurial activities that can increase the business openings and outlets for these young men to either open their business or to get jobs in these business establishments. But what has happened over the last 10 or so years, instead of jobs being created, jobs are being destroyed.
Yes.
And I'm saying that when you go to, when you see, Mutty, a construction site opens, when it opens, Mutty, you see 500-600 people out there trying to get 10 jobs. It shows you that it is not that these young men especially don't want work, they just can't get work.
Yes.
Because you just have to see whenever a construction site opens, Mutty, or at Christmas time, when the MPs and councillors are for work, the hundreds of people who come out of their shacks hoping that they can get a week's work or a day's work. And what is happening in Jamaica, Mutty, is that there's not enough opportunities for these people to...
Quite true.
To get rid of their energies.
Quite true. Well, not just get rid of their energies, sir. To get what they would like to get in life.
Absolutely.
Right? I'll never forget hearing and I talk about it all the time on this program. A policeman being interviewed by Ronnie Thwaite some years ago on this program.
Yes.
An officer at the Central Police Station telling the interviewer that there were some youngsters, 15, 16, 17-year-olds, in the cells at Central Police Station. And he was talking to them and they were telling him that they had no expectation of living to beyond 23. So whatever it was that they wanted in life, they would have to get it now.
And you know why, Mutty? Not only is there the need for immediate gratification, which is quite unfortunate, because you find in these communities, if someone asks you for a job or they ask you for a contribution to assist with anything, within an hour time, or within a minute's time, they ask you, when can I get it? You have not even said yes or no, you know.
Yes.
They ask you, when can I get it? So there's this need for immediate gratification because there's a hopelessness in the society that they feel that their hopes cannot be satisfied. And quite frankly, you know, the opposition has been out in the wilderness for a long time. We have never had the opportunity, certainly myself, to implement some of the programs that can raise the hopes of people. And, you know, sometimes you see what the government is doing, how they make announcements, and then nothing happens after that much. So you hear an announcement, jobs will be created under, say, the beautification program. When you go to the corners, you tell these young people, well, if these jobs come, you will be the first to get.
But I see the churches. The churches are coming out to do it.
Yes.
Now I'm wondering what has happened to this money that was allocated. How much? 600 and something?
$635 million. That the Prime Minister used as the main thrust of her presidential speech in September last year.
Yes. Now when is she going to... I mean, is it that the money has been handed over to the churches and they are going to provide the people to come and work?
No, you know what? The Prime Minister and the government, they have a duty to tell the country whether she was mistaken when she made that announcement.
Yes.
Because 1 month before World Cup, you can't now tell me you can't find that money or you have not started to spend it. And they have this program, Mutty, where they ask you to send in your proposal for beautification and around the towns and corners of the country.
But I'm just wondering whether this money is going to be paid over to the churches and they will find the people to do it.
But to this day, Mutty, we can't hear if the money is available. How can a Prime Minister come and make this announcement without knowing if the money is available? And you know what is worse, Mutty? You have really dishonest commentators who are now blaming the parish councils for the state of the towns and cities in Jamaica when no money has been allocated to them under the Cricket World Cup allocation, if there's any.
Yeah.
And neither has any increased subvention been given to them. And you hear commentators saying it is the JLP-controlled parish councils that are responsible for the state of the roads and the cleanliness of the cities. And it is not fair to the parish councils in a situation in which no money has been allocated to the parish councils.
Yes, well.
And then you see, Mutty, you found it, and I thought the cartoon in the Observer was quite good, that you put cricket first, because you get $100 million US to fix up Sabina Park and to put in one or two addition to Trelawney, the stadium in Trelawney. But around Sabina Park, Mutty, and around all the towns, it is the same dirt and grime that we have been experiencing for the last 5 or 10 years. It cannot be fair to the Jamaicans that you just fix up Sabina.
Anyway, the churches are going to take care of that.
But, Mutty, there's no doubt in my mind that the Prime Minister and the government must tell us, where is the $635 million that she announced?
Yes.
I guess I'll ask in Parliament this afternoon what has happened to it.
Yes, indeed. All right, sir.
All the best to you, Mutty.
Thank you very much. All the best to you. We have some email.
Yes, Mr. Perkins. Dear Mr. Perkins, read my email, which was read yesterday. The $10 per page at the G.C. Foster College is for assignments given to students to do and hand in, not for tests or work prepared by the college. For example, a research assignment of 30 pages would cost $300 for printing. Some students are trying to buy their own printers to cut down on the cost. So he's clarifying the email of what the $10 per page was for.
Yes.
Dear Mr. Perkins, here's my suggestion for Lady P. Now that Jamaica has found oil,
has it?
The government should immediately forward sell it to Markridge, just as we did with our bauxite.
Now that they think they're going to find oil in 10 years' time,
we must forward sell it to Markridge, as we did with our bauxite.
I don't think Markridge is a fool.
That would prove to the world that Jamaica is a progressive country, able to sell what it doesn't have and spend what it doesn't earn. Mr. Perkins, perhaps this escaped your attention. It was in the Star headline earlier this month. Ceasefire in Spanish Town. Gangs make peace again. Peace is once again reigning in Spanish Town, St. Catherine, due to an understanding between senior members of both the One Order and Klansmen to promote entertainment and togetherness in the old capital. The police are quite happy about it. So you see, Mr. Perkins, man better man.
I don't know what that means.
Mr. Perkins? Well, what it means is, Mr. Perkins, is that there was much war.
The police were unable to do?
Yes, I think that is the point. Yes. Dear Mr. Perkins, I too worked in the bauxite industry before migrating to Canada in 2002. I worked at Kaiser Jamaica Bauxite Company. Not only the dust pollution was a problem then, but also pit reclamation. In addition to destroying properties and lives, the environment was very terrible to live in. I have seen people block the road, even in the days when I was working there, just to protest against dust disturbances. The company would just send out a water truck to damp the road and give it a half an hour or so and start its equipment right up again, more dust. At times the police had to be called in to disrupt the protests of the residents. This has been a long-standing issue, Mr. Perkins. And all these companies do is offer the people peanuts. The people are dying. The government, through the Ministry of Health, should carry out a program where they test people living in these areas where bauxite is being mined for diseases of the upper respiratory system, lung diseases, colon diseases as well, Mr. Perkins, due to the caustic acid which has got into the aquifers, and also sinus.
Yes.
All the children in that area are suffering from asthma.
Hold on just a moment. Okay, thank you very much. We're back here online. We continue with the email.
Mr. Perkins, when a man assumes public office, he must hold himself as public property. And that was said by your hero, Thomas Jefferson.
He must hold himself
as public property.
As public property.
Yes.
He wasn't thinking about Jamaica, I'm sure.
It was Jefferson. The mail continues. I'm very saddened by the direction in which our country is going.
By the what?
By the direction in which our country is going. I'm saddened by the shallowness and the single-mindedness of the debaters, both on the radio talk shows and the media in general, and in the House of Parliament. Our activists defend the corruption, the ineptness, and the failure of our leaders, rather than address to the general good of the country. Jamaica does not exist merely as a PNP or JLP post. There's little general concern for the ultimate good of the country. Everything is split on political lines. Take, for example, the debate on the Sandals White House issue. Western Kingston is the dirtiest, the filthiest sector in town. Yet it is represented by the bigwigs, Portia, Bruce, Davies, and the mayor, who's really trying but lacks resources. Why not have an environment and awareness march? JLP and PNP and Jamaicans from West Parade to 6 Mile and include all the do-gooders. Let's bring consciousness to the people of the importance of cleanliness, for no one can help them until they begin to help themselves. Away with these preach marches and peace breakfasts. They're exercises in futility.
I hear, incidentally, that there's hell going on in an area downtown, well, involved in the constituencies of Peter Phillips, Omar Davis, and Portia Simpson Miller. That's that's where all the
there's some mail here having to do with that. Yes. Mr. Perkins, did you see that young man from Arnett Gardens and in bracket, all of a sudden it is now being called Jonestown, who said our MP has deserted us. He has called us irredeemable. He no longer has any use for us. And all that is going on is a result of that. Did you see such?
I saw it, yes, it was on television.
Dear Mr. Perkins, it is remarkable that on the question of the recent police shootings, you were so aggressive in cross-examining the businessman who contributed some background to the shooting, yet you were willing to accept, without much doubt, the mother's account of what happened. You asked her why, after she and the young man who was a sister, detained him inside her house. He later left to expose himself to gunfire. She gave a feeble answer that he had responded to a phone call. As dubious as this explanation sounded, you did not pursue that explanation with any degree of doubt. Yet you were so eager to condemn the police shooting that any information that may have shed some light on the possible confrontation to what led to its death is summarily dismissed. Your position on the need for independent review of all police shootings is perfectly correct and is endorsed by all fair-minded people. However, there are far too many murders in this country, and a lot of policemen are victims. We would all wish that the police action in apprehending criminals could result in convictions through legal processes. But there are those who would and do kill innocent people indiscriminately, and some of them do confront the police in shootouts. My heart will not bleed for any of them when they lose a gunfight. I have known people who have been brutally murdered, and then the convicted perpetrator escaped imprisonment. He may still be free to recommit, and you and I may be his next victim. Look, sir, I'm well aware of the need for rigorous police oversight, but I also understand the precarious position of the security forces in a country that is the murder capital of the world, over 190 killings in the island since the year began. How many died in police shooting? In Toronto, a lot of young men have been shot to death by the police, and to date, none of those police have been convicted. As a minority community, we are extremely concerned, and we protest such police action and had to fight against police opposition for civilian oversight, now called Special Investigation Unit. While this is a necessary plank in the justice system, we cannot ignore the weekly fatal shootings by these young thugs and no longer feel compelled to demonstrate en masse whenever one is shot by the police. 2 years ago, there was a shootout between these gangs in crowded downtown Toronto on Boxing Day, which resulted in the death of an innocent shopper. Who can blame society for taking a hard line against such criminal disregard for life and becoming unsympathetic when one is killed by police action? This in no way justifies illegal actions by law and order enforcers. But one must understand that the police is a product of the society from which they are recruited. And their police actions will be a direct reflection of the prevailing social conditions.
I'm glad you recognize that.
I grew up in Jamaica when the vast majority were by no means well off. Yet the incidences of crime were for the most part minor robberies, and a killing was a rare occurrence. Now it's a daily ritual. Job opportunities were scarce then, as now. Migration was the main option for many jobless Jamaicans from the 1920s until now. Sure, the various governments have failed to improve the economic lot of the people, but crime is no solution. All the best to you.
Thank you, sir. But I suspect that you are guilty of what you're accusing me of. I don't think you were listening as carefully as you might have done to those two conversations that I had. One with that gentleman who claimed or gave the impression that he knew that this young man had killed somebody. He saw him in a car, yes, shooting and killing some person. And the man stuck his head out, not just the gun, but his head out of the car window so that everybody could see him and identify him as the murderer. I am a little skeptical of that and of other things that he said. Okay?
Good day, Mr. Perkins. I would like to know why the government does not pass a bill that companies need to pay their workers equivalent in US dollars.
No, I didn't get that.
Why don't companies pay their workers in US dollars?
We're here in Jamaica?
Yes.
Well, because the US dollar is legal tender in Jamaica. The legal tender is the Jamaican dollar.
Dear Mr. Perkins, did you see the news one day last week where the camera focused on Mrs. Maxine Henry Wilson in the House of Representatives, seemingly very much fast asleep?
Oh?
Mr. Perkins, wouldn't it be prudent for her to have been awake in case there were any issues or motions being discussed? How could she vote on these issues if she's asleep? That would be like a juror falling asleep when evidence is being given at a trial.
Yes, but you know, it's not quite the same thing as a juror falling asleep. And people do get tired. And if they get tired enough, sometimes they're sitting down there listening to a debate and they fall asleep. I mean, this is not a criminal offense. You know, it happens. I suppose that if there are various ways in which a member of parliament would know about it, they're not depending exclusively on the debate. They've discussed the matter in cabinet and so on. She, as a minister, and she knows what the government's position is, what she agreed to, and she votes accordingly. But in any event, I mean, have some sympathy. If she was working hard and she got tired and she fell asleep, I don't think anything is too, you know, it would be better if she could have stayed up, but she fell asleep. She was tired. We take a break. We come back shortly. Okay, thank you very much. We're back. Just carry on.
Mr. Perkins, I was listening to your conversation with that young businessman earlier. I cannot understand how he denies being a PNP.
Oh, what?
How he denies being a PNP, Mr. Perkins.
Oh.
Why? Well, who else would take from the retired people to gain votes? They are old and probably going to die from starvation anyway. So, go after the younger vote. The guy said he agreed with that tactic. Does he not realize that the starving retired people did not vote on this matter? It will be taken from them and given away. I wonder what that young businessman would agree with the government going into his bank account and removing a sum of money suitable to them without his input. Is this okay as well?
I'm afraid I don't quite remember what that one was about.
It's about the NIS loan and small businesses.
Yes. Any more?
What happened, Mr. P? You're soft, man. What happened to Mr. P? You're getting soft, man. What happened to the theory of elegance that we used to say in the regards to the FinSac matter? I heard you reasoning with somebody from St. Elizabeth recently. You said that emotion should be left out of it and that the scientific evidence alone was to be considered. You fail to realize that over here, politics and science have somehow become FinSac, have somehow become intertwined, and the Democrats are using global warming as a platform to attack capitalism and the Bush administration. Evidently, it has to do with global warming. Global warming is happening, but it is linked to one common cause: solar activity.
Solar
activity?
Oh?
Yes.
What is solar activity?
Mutty Morning, your program seeks to belittle the government. Always. In particular, the Prime Minister. I think you should stop the constant pounding away at the Prime Minister. It amounts to a kind of bully pulpit that you speak from. Please try to find a way to uplift the country and the people through your program. There should be a place for positive thoughts. Also, you always talk about corruption. Corruption comes in many forms, some of which are hardly even noticeable. For instance, it can't be a mere coincidence that the same caller, the one with the nasal sounding voice, or I should say, the one who talks through his nose, gets through on your program so often. Can it? Also, you seem to go quiet, allowing him to make long speeches aimed at attacking the government. How is this so? Corruption has some subtle forms, Mutty. Is your program corrupt? Finally, what exactly is the story with the international toll-free line? I get the distinct impression that the line is being tampered with.
Oh?
Let's say it seems to be off the hook at times.
Oh?
When it does ring, immodestly after that, there's a busy signal. What is it? Corruption on the toll-free line?
I tell you something. I don't know how you would know that the telephone seems to be off the hook if there are persons calling and holding on. Some of them having to wait considerable amount of time. So why you jump to the conclusion that the line is off the hook? I don't know. I would like to know. In any event, I mean, my criticisms of the government, my answer to the kind of charge that you have made is point out to me what I have said that is not true. Right? That's all you have to do. The mere fact of criticizing the government cannot be corrupt. Right? One has a right and sometimes even an obligation to be critical of the government. Okay, let's go back to the telephones. Hello? Hello?
Hello?
Yes?
Yes, Mr. Perkins, how are you?
I'm fine, thank you, sir. How are you?
Great. Just listen to what was just read by from the email.
Yes.
Well, I guess I will be criticizing the government, and I'm criticizing the government from a perspective of crime.
For not what?
I hope
you're criticizing the government for?
Criticizing the government for on the basis of crime.
Yes.
And corruption.
Uh-huh.
You know, I think it's time for us to realize that the crime and violence that is going on in Jamaica is a reflection of the government.
Yes.
And I have no apology for saying that.
One of the first duties of the government is to maintain order. Right?
Well, there's no order in the government.
There's no order in...
Very obvious there's no
There's
order.
very little order in Jamaica.
And then I could go ahead and criticize the Prime Minister. It was the Prime Minister on the day of her inauguration who publicly stated that she will be eradicating crime and violence.
Uh-huh.
And I guess she has gotten caught up in the status.
I don't remember that part of it. I remember human rights, her first commitment, and corruption.
And corruption. Well, yeah. I consider that as well as crime and because
I see. I don't remember that part.
It's kind of sad to see what's going on, and I honestly, you know what? I realize she don't really understand exactly what's going on in the house.
Uh-huh.
I barely think she knows exactly what to do when she gets to the Jamaica house. just by watching her sometimes sitting there, I guess there's some point she's trying to figure out what's really going on here today. But I'm praying for her. I'm seriously praying for her because I realize she's not with the program, and I don't think she understands exactly what's going on in her own government, in the PNP government rather. I don't think she understands what's going on in the PNP government because I was reading something and she said actually PNP, so I figure more or less she really don't know where she's at. She don't understand what's going on. There's something I caught my attention. I think it was last week with that road repair with Andrew Gallimore. And I was watching the CVM on the internet last night, and he made a statement that caught my attention. He said, I hope more of this will be done. No, he said, I hope we'll have more election coming up. Stuff like things like this.
Yes, happen. I heard that.
I've been longing for that to be said. I'm so serious because I realize now this is the year for election, and everybody's now trying to do something to impress the people, put us back in. It's a sign that they are aware that the people are not pleased with what they are doing, and the people are not pleased with their performance. And you know, again, it's up to the Jamaican people. If they love the condition they're in, I guess they will put this government back in. I'm just praying for the poor and the needy in the country, because they're the ones suffering. They're the ones going through all this, and it's really sad. And I don't remember when this took place in Linstead with the 5 or the 6 that got executed.
Yes. Sometime last week, I think.
It was sometime last week.
Yes, I think so.
That's very brutal. That's very cruel. Again, what's going on in the country? What's the situation with the crime and violence? How many days have we gone so far in the year? And how many deaths have we had so far? What is the country doing? What is the government doing? Is it that these guys don't respect the government? Or they're saying, if you're doing it, I can do it too? Is that what they're saying?
I don't know.
You know, I think we are in a serious dilemma. A very serious dilemma. Honestly, I was listening to them talking about this this cricket thing. Honestly, Mr. Perkins, I am praying for the visitors. And I'm begging God to set a hedge around them when they enter the country of Jamaica, because seeing what's going on, it's not a safe place. And this is not a way of degrading my own country, but it's the reality. It's not a safe place. And you know, it's really sad. Where I'm from in Jamaica, I'm from a Kitson town in West Central St. Catherine. Yes. At one point that was so peaceful. Now and then it gets really crazy. And I asked myself the question, what's really going on? It's like nobody respects anywhere anymore, because the government really doesn't care. As long as they're being fed with the wealth out of the poor to the rich, they are fine. As far as what I'm seeing, the poor could die and they could live. That's all I'm seeing going on right now. So, you know, my question to the most honorable Prime Minister, what is she doing? Are you waiting for another election to come up with some grandiose plan? Is that what she's waiting for? Because I think it's going on to a year now since she's been there as a Prime Minister.
Not quite,
and
but
to be truthful,
not too far from it.
Not too far, like 2 months away, right?
Yeah, a month or so.
Yes,
little over a month.
What has she done since she's been there? What?
Yes.
And maybe you might have an answer that could help me out, since I'm not there.
No, sir, I haven't got an answer. I haven't got an answer to that at all. I don't see that she has achieved very much in the year that she has been prime. Well, almost a year. You know.
You see that bridge in St. Mary?
Yes.
it represents the government of Jamaica.
You mean the collapse of it?
Yes.
Hold on just a moment for me, please. Okay, thank you very much. We're back here online. Hello?
Yes, Mr. Perkins.
Hello, yes?
Yeah, I was saying something. Yes, I was saying something about the bridge.
Yes.
And, I don't know how long that bridge has been there for.
Quite a number of years.
Quite a number of years.
Yes.
And they had to wait until that bridge collapsed with how many people on it? 14?
Uh-huh.
For them to... I'm saying the government had to wait for the bridge to collapse with 14 people on it. 14 individuals on that bridge. They could have died,
Yes, I suppose. Part of the problem is, sir, that the government is in a parlous state as far as funds are concerned. Dr. Davis...
It can't be because the Prime Minister announced, a $600 and something million budget
for the cleaning up of the
country. So how can there be?
Well, they're going to take some of the Petro-Carib loan funds.
And the Traffic Bureau too?
Well, the Traffic Bureau thing was spent out on the party conference, I believe. But and I gather that you're soon to hear some more on that. The government has a serious problem about money, right? There's a strike of lecturers at the what's the name of the UTech, University of Technology, right?
Yes,
apparently they're claiming that the government has owed them back money since 2002, I believe, some long time like this.
Oh wow!
Right, and they haven't got it, and the government is offering them some putrid proportion of it. And they're saying no, they want a substantial, payment towards a settlement.
Do you think they will ever get it?
Well, I don't know if the government has it to pay them, sir. The government, and then there was another group that is threatening strike action. Which one is this? I can't remember.
I was reading that too on the internet.
Yes.
Well, Mr. Perkins, I guess it will have to take a bridge to collapse or a government to collapse for the people to realize that they are not doing anything. They are not going to do anything. They have not done anything, I should say, for them.
Well,
and maybe it's going to take a collapse.
They have been doing a hell of a lot, but mostly it has been quite harmful to the interests of the country, in my view.
Yes, and I agree with that. Honestly, it's becoming a burden because when you have your loved ones who are poor, who are in need, and every day, whenever I visit Jamaica, and I see it for myself. I'm poor. When I was there, I was poor. I was no rich guy. But when I go back and I see the condition
under which people are living,
my relatives, it grieves my heart because I realize there's so much I can do for them.
Yes.
And to me, I believe the government just loves seeing this because you realize they're dealing with a group of people who just want $500 every election year. And I said to myself, $500 doesn't mean anything to anyone anymore.
Yes, quite true.
Unless they're going to spend $100 per year, and that doesn't make sense. And it's really a disrespect to the people of the country. It's just
yes, sir. That is a large part of the problem. We don't respect our people.
It's very disrespectful to the people of the country, and they have taken the Jamaican population for granted, and that's disrespectful to the people of the country because they know they could buy them out with a $500. They believe we can do it again and get back in power. But I think it's time for the Jamaican people to say, listen, enough of the nonsense, enough of the foolishness. We have learned our lesson. Yes, they have learned their lesson the hard way, and I think it's time for them to say no more foolishness. Let me say this. This is Black History Month here in America. If Martin Luther King was in Jamaica, I think they would have killed him.
They would have done what?
Maybe they would have killed him a long time before he got killed here.
Yes, yes.
Because the injustice that he would have seen there, knowing it's supposed to be a country filled with black people, and black folk are disrespecting black folk out there, I think they would have killed him long before he died here. Because there's so much injustice going on in Jamaica, it's not even funny. It's just downright disrespectful to the people of the country.
Yes.
Everybody, the rich, the wealthy can pick up themselves and they could take the plane and go wherever they want to go, and the poor will sit right there in their poor condition.
Yes, especially if you have a husband to give you a credit card.
That's something that I thought that was so childish and so petty. When he came and made that statement, I said, you know what? The Jamaican people have really made a big blunder. I thought the decision was a conscious one, but then I'm thinking now, I said that was a big blunder. But I guess we all have to learn the hard way.
Well,
we all have to learn the hard way. So
we either learn the easy way or we learn the hard way, whichever, you know.
I know.
If we refuse to learn the easier way, then we are obliged to learn the hard way. But then sometimes we go through the hardship and we don't learn.
And that's the problem.
Yes.
That's the problem. That's the problem. At least here in America, people in the southern part of America have learned their lesson. And they have stepped up from where they once were, and they said, listen, enough, we have had enough, and we are not going to stay there, and we are stepping up.
Yes.
Right now, we see where equality is pretty much on the margin. It's not where it's supposed to be, but it's not where it used to be. In Jamaica, it's at the same spot, going nowhere. And I think if the people of the country want the best for themselves, they need to realize we must send a message. Do not disrespect us anymore.
Yes.
They have done enough, and enough is enough. I am praying for my country. I'm hoping the best for my country, for my relatives, for my friends. But if they fail to send a message, there's nothing I can do, and there's nothing you can do. We have to pray for the best, and I'm hoping for the best. Keep up the good work.
All right, sir.
You take care of yourself.
Thank you very much.
God bless you.
All the best to you. Hello? Hello?
Hello?
Yes, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Mr. Perkins. Mr. Perkins, I'm here listening, and I saw about the bridge there last night.
Yes.
Yes, I'm wondering, the MP, I don't hear the MP saying anything.
I don't think that he was here in the country. I think he was abroad, and I gather he's to come back sometime today.
But what I'm saying, Mr. Perkins, that bridge is so long there like that. And don't you think that MP should see that bridge, sir? If he did respect those poor people there, would he have seen it, sir?
Well, I don't know that he didn't do anything about it. I don't know that he didn't bring it to the attention of...
But, Mr. Perkins, a thing like that is water. It is over water. And it is there so long. Don't you think that these people should fix that thing long time?
It should have been done, yes. But part of the problem is, you know, Mom, that the government is short of cash. It doesn't have the money. Because most of the money that is available to the government has to be spent servicing the debt that Dr. Davis and his crew have created.
But what they should have done, I think, to do resigning would be the best thing.
Well,
and it would be the best thing for the people of Jamaica.
The best thing for the people of Jamaica, but not for Dr. Davis.
For them to resign. They should resign. Because they know they are not doing a good job. And they need to get down from where they are now.
Yes.
Because they know they can't do any better. They can't do anything more now, Mr. Perkins. Because they don't have the backbone. They have misused the people of Jamaica money in every way you can think of. And I think it's best thing for them to go. We need them to go now, sir. Because what you need, me I suffer, but me not suffer too bad, you know. Yeah, me not suffer too bad. But when I see what is going on, I know I'm so sorry for most of these people here. That's why you see, you can't blame those people that boy the gun. You can't blame them. Not saying that they should go around and killing people. They need to build places that people can get work, open some those factories. Then if they don't want to work there, you have something else put there for them then. Yes. You deal with them when you catch them. But you can't, I don't know. I'm wondering what next, sir. What next? Because you can't sleep, you can't talk, you can't walk, you don't know what. You have to sleep and watch your head back all the way. I just don't know, sir. I'm so fed up at this place now. So fed up.
Yes, well, you know, Mom, we have to keep at it.
Yeah.
And we have to stand up and make it clear that, you know, we're not putting up with this.
So true, sir, so true. But I think they find out that they can't manage. And they need to just step down and show the people, say, I'm sorry for what we have done to you people, and we can't make it anymore, instead of their pretending.
Well, why don't you write to your Prime Minister suggesting that to her?
No, she won't listen
in
to
any
me.
event, she doesn't have to do it quite like that. There's an election due. So she could go to the election.
Yes, an election due, and they're going around patch, this patch that which can't help. Better them do it in a right and proper way, you know. Because in the long run, that's why this place is like that. Because they just patch, pitch, patch, and there's nothing done properly here anymore.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Thank you very much for that. We have to leave you now. We leave you for Business Online. We'll be back here in a few minutes. Online. Hello?
Hello?
Yes, good afternoon to you.
Good afternoon, Mr. Perkins. Why is it you keep telling the people that those people don't have any money to do what they're supposed to do for the country?
What, the government? I don't think they have the money.
But when they're to do something on their behalf, they find the money to do it.
Such as what?
Such as what? Whenever time they feel like using the money, they use it to do what they feel like doing.
Well, then they can't use it twice, you know. If they use it to do what they want to do, if they use it to do World Cup or whatever, thinking that, you know, they will make it back or something, but they can't go and spend it on the bridge again.
But that's not all they have. They don't have it just for the World Cup, you know. They have money there. They have money, and they will use it when they feel like using it. And they will travel with it for 10 million in 7 months.
Well, all right.
And it continues.
Yes.
Because the traveling continues. And they're going to use 10 million for 7 months just to travel.
Yes.
And the people's business are there to be done.
Well, all right.
Mr. Perkins, they can't trouble you, you know, because you're talking the truth. And they can't hurt you. If they could have hurt you, they would have done it already in the courts.
I beg your pardon?
But they know that they can't hurt you, so please tell the people.
Yes.
Tell the people the right thing.
Yes.
For these people have the money, but they have it to spend when they feel like spending
it. Well, I believe that they have misallocated some funds, yes. I mean, when I say that, I mean, their priorities are not perhaps what they should be.
They have no priority.
But they do have a serious financial problem. They have a huge debt, and the servicing of that debt is consuming a hell of a lot of the resources that are available to them.
And what have they done with all that, the huge debt they have accumulated?
Well,
what
that's
have they done
question.
with that money?
Yes.
What have they done with that money? What have they done with that money?
That's a good question. Yes. What have they done with it?
I suppose they can stand on it now and touch the cloud.
Well, I don't know. I think much of it has. I don't know. I don't know. I think that that is a question that Dr. Davis should be called upon to answer.
these people are going on with this hanky-panky thing. No, I mean, it's time for it to stop now, man. It's time for it to stop now. And
yes,
the people, plenty people out there.
They didn't put themselves where they are, you know, Mum.
Huh?
They didn't put themselves where they are.
Because the people...
It's the
illiterate.
It's the people
and they can't think for themselves. They keep them ignorant so that they can manipulate them.
Well, I suppose that is part of it, but that's been going on for a long time.
So that is the only reason why they are still in power up until now for 18 years.
Yes, well.
Now it's full time for them to go because they don't have a clue how to run a country.
I see.
The only thing they know to do is to feather their cap.
Okay, Mom. Thank you very much.
Okay.
All the best to you. Okay, thank you very much. We're back online. Hello? Hello? Hello?
Afternoon, Mr. Perkins.
Good afternoon, Mom. How are you?
First time on the program, sir.
Oh, I'm so happy to have you.
Thank you. Mr. Perkins, you know that I believe that the murderer should be hung.
You think they should be hung?
Yes, Mr. Perkins, because sometimes them kill some people just brutally. Them don't know you and them rob you. Them rob you and leave you and them rob you and kill you and leave your family to suffer. I don't see the reason why they shouldn't be hung because I have a cousin, I have a little brother in Mr. Perkins. He got good education because it's just two of us my mother have, right? He went to good school up to grade 11 and got 6 CXC subjects. And him just start follow company, and me talk to him, him just start follow this gun thing. Me report him, but he realized me report him, me not come at the house anymore. You know this gun thing, and him have him subject, him go school. Him never 1 year yet stop from school because my mother never have it forgive him. Go right through, and now him decide to take up the gun. So if him go out there and kill anybody, I don't want a human rights beg him and say nothing. Him for dead if him kill people. You understand? If him get wanted, I don't want nobody to come and say, no, he must be hang. He must hang because him did get opportunity and all them friends them him I work with, the whole of them are high school students, but they must say it's too slow, they want to get rich quick. So you have a whole heap of youth like that.
Hold on a
moment. They want to get rich quick mentality.
Hold on a little bit. Do you have an idea of where he could get a job, a decent job?
Of course, him can't get decent job. A person with 6 subjects, him can't get job, Mr. Perkins. Him can't go into the army then. I tell him that I say he can't even join the army and try to further yourself.
I don't know that you... Well, I don't know. But the question is, are opportunities available to... You say to your brother has opportunities. What about other people? You think everybody is in the position of your brother?
Mr. Perkins, I believe saying because most of them is not hungry. Them hungry why them doing this thing, and I can't tell you that in Mr. Perkins. It's just wicked.
Hold on a moment for me. Okay, thank you very much. We're back with you, Mum.
Yes, Mr. Perkins.
Do you think it possible that persons could be convicted of murder who are not guilty of murder?
Mr. Perkins, out of 100, probably about 2. Trust me.
Out of 100.
About 2.
About 2. That is the figure you put on it.
Yes, Mr. Perkins.
Now, let us suppose that you are right. Do you think it is right to hang 2 persons who didn't commit a crime?
It is not right, Mr. Perkins, but mistake can be made. But you can't watch that,
then
Mr.
hold on a little bit. Hold on a moment. Suppose they decided that you had committed a murder and decided to hang you. How would you feel about it?
Mr. Perkins, if it's not self-defense, well, I deserve the same. Because you cannot take people's life like that. If it is not self-defense...
Suppose you had not committed a murder, but witnesses came and lied and said you had committed the murder. And they saw you doing it. Right? How would you feel about that?
I want to feel good, Mr. Perkins, because deep in my heart I know that I am innocent. But I'm not talking about the innocent ones. I'm talking about the persons, the guilty ones.
But
Mr. Perkins, if you continue to look on that side, it's not going to happen.
Hold on a little bit. Human being make mistake. Mistake can make any time. Am I right?
Yes, Mr. Perkins.
So if you know that mistakes can be made, would you advocate a punishment that is final when you once you have delivered that punishment, you can't correct it? If you find out that you're wrong, there's nothing you can do about it, right? How do you feel about that one?
I want to feel good. Mr. Perkins, I'm going to ask you a question. What is your suggestion if a person kills somebody cold-bloodedly, and if you don't agree with the hanging, what form of punishment would you suggest?
Well, there is imprisonment.
For life?
For life. And if it turns out, you know, Mom, that in the United States, numbers of persons, I haven't got a figure, but I gather it's quite a large number of persons over the years, since DNA techniques came in, technology, they have been found on DNA evidence not to have been guilty of the murders for which they had been convicted. You know that?
Perkins, I
said, do you know that? Do you know that?
No, I just know it now. But we cannot watch that because the one that made the killing, they must dead. Because my brother is just 17 and I'm so what kind of gun thing, you idiot? Are you if you kill now, everybody are ball out and say, don't, you did get the opportunity and never on a hungry why you're going bad. So if you kill everybody, you must dead bad.
But that is But that is if he did kill somebody.
But Mr. Perkins, it must happen because you're in it one day, go and do it. If not this week or next week, and it must happen.
Yes, but what if they catch him and convict him? What if they tell lies on him and convict him? Or mistakes are made and he's convicted before he committed any murder?
Mr. Perkins, it's not in every case a mistake. I mean, because your people are dead for sure. Every day you listen to the news, people really are dead. So no whole heap of mistake now go make.
No whole heap of mistake now go make.
No whole heap of mistake, because people are dead for real.
Did you hear about that case that happened out in Spanish Town, where 2 men were convicted of murdering a policeman in the course of a bank robbery?
No, I
you never heard about it?
No.
You see, there is so much that you don't know.
Well, we cannot watch that. We cannot watch it. We're not going to move forward.
These two men were convicted of murdering the policeman, right? There was a tape, a security camera, and a tape made on the security camera that showed the men who had committed the robbery. 4 men, right? These 2 men were not among them. But that evidence was not presented in the courts. They were convicted. It was not until eventually they appealed to the Privy Council that the Privy Council became aware of this tape, the existence of this tape, and demanded to be shown it. And when the police had the tape, and when they saw the tape, the men not being on it, they decided to overthrow the conviction. And those men are alive today knocking around Jamaica. Right? Do you think if they had been convicted, if they hadn't gone to wasn't a Privy Council for them to go to, and they had been convicted and hanged, you figure that would be alright?
It's an environment. That's my tell me something. Just
no, it would be alright. But I mean, a little mistake. A little mistake.
People lose them lives too much in this country, man. Yes. And then them are going to say them can't get to work. Not because they can't get to work, they can walk and kill people. Them something they don't right. Because you don't like nobody kill you, Mr. Perkins.
Of course not.
You understand? They must stop them things on both sides. Time hard, yes, but that not give you the right to do them things.
But nobody's arguing that it gives you a right, ma'am.
Well, if them don't want, and them have to come up with some serious thing, like if you catch a man with a gun, 15 years, 1 year for a gunshot, say police raid your house and catch more now, it's 10, a 10 year you gotta get feet then.
But
they
you don't think, ma'am, has it not occurred to you that there are things that could be done to make this a better society in which people had opportunity and which people found it best to obey the law because the law was in their interest and made it possible for them to live the good life?
But my little brother now, he got the opportunity now because him got basic, primary, and then high, and then he might decide to do that now. Him to get the opportunity, so if him get himself on a serious problem, him can't ball out and say, boy, I never did get the opportunity. So if I'm not one of them, I can't say that.
You got the opportunity too?
Yes, Mr. Perkins.
And what did you do? You passed, you have exam results too?
Yes, Mr. Perkins.
So what do you do now?
I sell.
You sell what?
Like clothes and stuff like that.
On the roadside?
Huh?
On the
roadside?
No,
at my house. I don't like the 9 to 5 because sometimes I can't wake up early to my bed, so I just sell.
You sell at your house?
Yeah.
Oh, you have a shop at your house?
Yeah.
Then who come there to buy?
People buy because people are going to dance and them something there, so them come and buy ear and clothes tights and all of them something there. Yeah, so I just make my living that way.
I see what you mean.
So I'm just pointing out to you that it's not every one of them where do this crime never get an opportunity. You have a whole heap of them. Because the read and write people, them are go around with the crime and they're not done, you know. And the people, them will go to high school if you check it out. And then them are going to say them never get an opportunity.
You don't think that you could have done better?
By selling?
Well, if you had some better opportunities.
But I'm still independent.
You're independent.
Whether I'm an igla or I'm still independent, not begging anybody anything.
I see what you mean.
So I can survive same way, even though the government needs to shake up. But that don't give the criminal them no excuse.
I'm not saying it gives them an excuse, Mom.
Because you wouldn't let nobody kill you or your wife, and I wouldn't let nobody kill me. And everybody deserves the right to life.
Yes, and I don't want to see anybody kill anybody else. Right? But I think that you're taking a rather shallow view of it, you know? And in any event, let me point out to you that before you can hang a man for a crime, right? Under normal circumstances, if you're going to do it right, then you have to catch the man who did the murder.
Yeah, that is true.
Right. Now, in Jamaica, somewhere in the region of 30%, right? That is 30 out of every 100 murders in Jamaica are cleared up. And cleared up doesn't mean that you catch the man on whom you have the evidence that he committed it. It might mean that the police shoot a man last night and says him did kill 10 men. Right?
Yeah.
No evidence presented, of course, no opportunity for that. And the man isn't there to defend himself. Right? No. If 70, at least 70, possibly more, murders out of every 100 are unsolved, then how hanging going to help?
Not going to help. Well, all I have to say, Mr. Commissioner and all the judges them who are listening, if you catch a man with a gun, 15 years. If you catch him with any rounds, 1 year for one of the round. Them say for 20, no will limit at 20 years. I have to come up with something serious because some of them I don't know what I'm to them.
No, let me ask you another question then.